Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the It's Obvious podcast. My name's GarrettDrake. I'm joined online by Jacob Alka. This is episode 209. Dear Jacob, my brother, how are you?
Garrett, did you know that 209 is my favorite number in the world?
I don't believe you, Jacob. But
Yeah,
I'll
that's
take your
a
word for it today.
complete lie.
It doesn't sound very convincing. My favorite number is typically 32, notably because it was my father's number all throughout his athletic career as a adolescent, including my own number when I was a young child, playing a multitude of sports. And when I say multitude, I mean t-ball and basketball. Nothing outside that.
That's pretty much all of them.
That's basically all the sports, yeah. I was a 5-star athlete, or what do they call it, 5A? What do you call it in high school? It was like, that school's a 5A team, or what do they call it?
Yeah, it was. We were in a 5A division because we had they were divided based on the amount of people that went to the school.
Ah, I see how it is. Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. Well, I was one of those kids. I've already told my inspirational t-ball story in this podcast. I won't repeat it, but if anyone's actually interested, I'd love to share it with you some point at some point on Discord or something. But do you have any inspirational sports stories from your childhood, Jacob? I have like a handful I could share.
Inspirational sports stories.
Yeah, I'm talking like stories that could potentially be made into motion pictures one day to inspire the world.
Oh God, not that inspirational. No,
I have a couple that are pretty inspiring, actually.
Okay.
I want to hear one of yours. You got to have at least one.
I mean,
you never had a moment of glory in your entire sports career as a child, Jacob. You have to have at least one.
There was one time where I was in a baseball game. We were down by 3 runs. Bases were loaded, and I hit a grand slam, and we won the game.
Jacob, that is worthy a tale of centuries. You can tell that for centuries, Jacob.
But that's been done before, but it's...
Yeah, but you did that, Jacob. Not everyone can say they did that.
That's true. That was me.
That's really special. I also think you're a really phenomenal soccer player with an unrealized potential.
Oh, really? I used to play soccer.
Okay, I didn't know that, because every time I played you in like a little like pickup game with Zach and the boys, you completely massacred me every time.
It's not that I'm good or I have like any soccer skills. It's that I have like this mentality to be really aggressive when I play. So I can
see that.
Yeah.
Does that carry over into your competitive video game career?
Yeah, I've banged a few tables in my day.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, competitively too, like in Apex, are you an aggressive player?
I would say so, but then often it gets me killed. So.
Okay. That's what's funny is that it's such a mixed bag for me. I'm like, okay, if we're more aggressive, we should be more successful. And oftentimes that's the case, but there are definitely very clear arguments against that when we're aggressive and just get totally maccred because of it.
Yeah.
So
and it's easy to like play the blame game when you like make a decision and then you're like, oh, maybe I should have done the other thing. But yeah, it's
maybe
all
the
about
real
how you can read.
Skill is determined by being able to choose when and when not to be aggressive. Is
exactly
what the true skill is, because everyone can point a weapon and shoot it in a video game, but knowing when and when not to do that is got to be some sort of a skill.
Indeed. And what position is best suited for the engagement?
Exactly. Yeah. So things to consider, I guess, for your competitive gaming career. Speaking of which, you see that, I think he was a 16-year-old kid won that Fortnite tournament.
I did. I watched the end of it. It was insane.
I haven't seen any highlights, but just the fact that he's that young and won, even the money alone, like $3 million. I'm sure his parents are like, you play all the games you want, son. If you're going to keep bringing home cash like that, by all means, you're now the head of the household.
His life will never be the same. None of those people
will not.
I like that. The top 5 like made $1 million.
I wonder if Ninja is like intentionally excluded from tournaments like that, or if he just chose not to do it.
He tried to get in, but he didn't qualify.
You mean he wasn't good enough?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's wild.
Oh yeah. There was like for the last like few months, Epic's been holding these like qualifier tournaments like every weekend. And you have to like qualify. You have to finish in the top 1 or 2, I think, to qualify for this big tournament that happened this last weekend. And Ninja didn't make it.
Man, that's insane. Was this kid even remotely contested, or he just wiped the floor with everyone?
Apparently, he kicked everyone's ass. Like he won by almost double digits from the second place player.
Wow, he's officially a famous esports player. Then he'll be the man to beat going forward.
And he has $3 million to his name.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But anyway, Garrett, you traveled this week, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I did travel.
Would you like to share with the class how that went?
Sure, I can share part of it.
Okay.
in terms of why I was traveling, I went to San Francisco to visit EA in Redwood Shores, California, at their main headquarters.
Did they try to sell you a
there.
loot box?
Exactly. Yeah, it was just a giant slot machine you walk into. It was quite daunting. But no, that was the second time I'd been there for a similar event a couple years back. It was an all-around EA Sports event where they talked about Madden, FIFA, and maybe it wasn't FIFA. I think it was Madden, NHL. Maybe FIFA was there too. I can't remember. But this specifically was just for FIFA 20. And the main bulk of what I was there for, I can't talk about yet because there's embargoes for both aspects they covered. But I am allowed to talk about the standard 11-on-11 gameplay, which I have already written about on codconnected.com if you're interested. But I'm not a diehard FIFA fan. I don't play as frequently as I did when we were in high school and like our early college days. But I, of course, have a relatively extensive history with the game with you and Zach and all the times we'd play for hours on end. And because of that, I was relatively interested in seeing what FIFA 20 was all about because I hadn't given much time to 18 and 19 aside from just playing with you guys. So 11-on-11 is pretty cool. I mean, mostly what's interesting to me about the game are the fundamental updates they've made, specifically with more controlled dribbling. They've completely revolutionized free kicks and penalty kicks, which was pretty cool. What else is new? The AI isn't quite as dumb as it used to be. I mean, we're all very familiar with the glitches that pop up online of players just doing the most asinine things you could ever imagine on the field. But I don't know if you ever felt this way, Jacob, and they made a good point of this. So like you may realize like the inherent hecticness of each match that you're playing. It always feels like just there's chaos occurring. Even when you don't have possession of the ball or you're just moving down the field, it just feels a little chaotic for some reason.
Yeah.
And I never stopped to actually analyze what the AI was doing because I'm always focused on where the ball's at. But if you just pay attention to what the AI does when the ball's just anywhere else in the field, not near them, they're like zipping and zagging and moving in all these weird contorted ways because the AI is trying to like keep up with the action of the game. And they compared it to a real life game where people are much more relaxed than that. And I never realized how ridiculous it looked until they like mirrored it with actual live action footage compared to the previous iterations of the game.
Yeah.
So that was pretty surprising to me to see that. So one of their biggest updates was just calming all the AI down. So the field inherently looks far calmer than it ever has before. Yeah. And because of that, I naturally felt inclined to actually analyze the field and precisely choose where I'm going to pass instead of just sprinting back and forth like I always would. And because of that, it felt a little more strategic and slowed down in a good way, to where you could actually like stop and think about what you were going to do and kind of like plan attacks on the goal or whatever kind of shots you wanted to set up. So that was kind of cool. Sure. Speaking of shots, they also have this new thing called setup touch, where if you're just wide open on a goal, you know, before the ball would just kind of be glued to your player and you'd have to like walk up or run up to the goal and slow down and kick however you wanted to kick.
Yeah.
Well, or I mean, you can sprint right into it too, but if you really wanted to set up a good shot, it was just a matter of just like, okay, I'll slow down and then hit the shot button. Well, now they have this new feature called setup touch where you can actually remove the ball from your player and it'll kind of roll out a little bit. So that way you can kind of, I'm pretty bad at explaining it. They like went really in depth to like the actual like science behind the mechanic itself. Yeah. But in layman's terms, you can remove the ball from your player to set up very specific kinds of shots, which is kind of cool.
So you kind of like lead it in front of you?
Yeah, okay. Sort of. What are some other new things that I can still talk about? The game itself is just standard FIFA for the most part, but the fundamental updates, I could definitely tell a difference in terms of the relaxed AI, setup touch was cool, the dribbling was better. Also, they have new controlled tackling. I don't know if you remember this, Jacob, but we'd always tackle each other.
Oh, yeah.
Loved it. When we did it properly, it was always frustrating because you'd kick the ball out, and more often than not, the team that you've just kicked it out from would always recover it, and that's just frustrating. Yeah. It's like, well, why did I even try to tackle them right there? So now they have more controlled tackling where about 90% of the time when you tackle someone, you'll almost always end up in possession of the ball, which is very satisfying. So that's cool. And lastly, that I can still talk about, in terms of visual updates, they made the ball a little more realistic as well, because before it was very glued to the ground. It would bounce here and there, but you couldn't even notice the ball spinning because it was just so small in the field.
Yeah.
So now they've really enhanced the visuals of the ball and the way it spins and realistically bounces on the field. So it just looks a little more alive than it used to.
Sure.
So that's pretty cool. That's all the stuff I can talk about now. I mean, I always appreciate mechanics and physics behind games, so I really liked how they updated the tackling and the dribbling and the shots, and even the ball is just like such a small aspect of all that. But all of that working together, especially the AI, more relaxed, definitely just visually was very satisfying to me. So I liked it. I mean, I'm not one of those people that's going to go out and pick up FIFA 20 because of that. But when I play it inevitably, say with Zach, or I don't know if we'll ever go back to Evans again. I've been to Evans so long, but if I ever wind up there and we're playing FIFA 20, those are things that I would certainly appreciate going forward. But next week I'll be able to talk about, I think, one of two things that I got to play. There's one feature that's really, really awesome that I think is going to really change the way people see FIFA going forward. So I'm actually genuinely excited to talk about that in a couple weeks. But
okay,
I won't ramble too much longer, because I don't think anyone in our community is like a diehard FIFA player.
I guarantee you there's some.
There's got to be at least one, I imagine. But it was fun. Aside from that, though, San Francisco, I've been to San Francisco, I think, several times now, but this is probably my favorite trip I've had to the city so far, because they flew us in the day before the event, we had the event, and then we flew out the following morning. So I had a full day when I landed to kind of explore parts of the city they hadn't seen before.
Okay.
So first day, I went back to Golden Gate, even though I'd been there before, because I wanted to take pictures on an actual DSLR for once, whereas the first time I went was just all on my phone. But instead of taking photos of just the bridge itself, I wanted to take photos of just people having experiences there and more of like the landscape around it, because I never really stopped to like appreciate how mountainous and beautiful Northern California is, especially on the coast like that. So I got a collection of photos that I was really happy with, and I'm going to post at some point tonight, I think. But it was awesome. It was gorgeous, too. I went like right as the sun was setting, so I got a lot of pretty pictures of just people either taking in the view or doing other things in and around the Golden Gate Bridge. So that was fun.
Yeah, that's cool.
That was my first night, but that same night I went to Emporium. It's one of the arcade bars in the city. I think IGN actually... That's where I remember seeing it was an IGN fast travel video where they went to a bunch of different, I think they're called brewcades actually, where it's an arcade but it has like a bar and stuff.
Okay.
And Emporium's the biggest one. So it was really cool. I posted some pictures on my Instagram story from that, but there was a ton of arcade machines. Just the whole vibe of the place was super cool. There were 2 different floors. I had a drink there there was a cocktail called a Sonic Boom. I can't remember what was in it. It was probably one of the weakest cocktails I've ever had, but it tasted really good. I felt absolutely nothing after having it.
Were there any esports on like televisions or anything?
Interestingly, they had a Tombstone on all the TVs.
Tombstone?
Like yeah, it was awesome. So I sat there, enjoyed my drink, and watched people play arcade games, and watched a bit of Tombstone.
Nice.
To end my first evening, so that was fun.
Did you play any of the machines?
I did not. I didn't feel like paying for them. I just kind of wanted to see the place and have a drink, because it was kind of late anyway.
Yeah.
But nothing really to report on EA, aside from the fact that there's nothing Anthem related at all there. So I know BioWare isn't based out of that studio, but the few times I'd been there, I think I've only been there once before, but the one time I did go, I can't remember what game. I think it was Battlefield that year. That was really big. It was Battlefield 1, maybe. The whole
maybe it was Battlefront.
Could have been. It was something like that. Whatever game was big at the time, last time I went, which is the whole studio was just decked out and stuff like that. And I guess Anthem being their most recent, like, big title, there's nothing. So, which is, I guess, not a surprise, but I thought it was kind of funny.
Yeah, they've kind of gone radio silent lately. Haven't really heard anything, especially since E3.
No. I mean, they could pull a No Man's Sky and in a year or so just come out with this gigantic update that changes everything.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah, I mean, by all means, if EA's behind them and they have the time and resources to do that, and the development team wants it to be something special, then I totally encourage that. And they'll never hear me say that, but in my heart, that's how I feel.
I bet you it's getting phased out. I bet you it doesn't last too much longer.
Yeah, we'll see. It sucks for BioWare, man. They have been such a talented studio in the past. They've made me question that in recent years, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, they've had a couple duds.
Yeah. But EA, at the end of the day, was truly, I mean, say what you will about EA, but even just getting to go visit a studio like that and do coverage like that is just always an honor to me. So I was really grateful that I had the chance to do that. It was really fun.
Sure.
Following that evening after the event, I had a lot more time to kill. So I went to, I think they call it North Beach. A friend of mine had recommended I go check out just that part of town, which I'd never been to before. And I went to this famous bookstore called City Lights Booksellers. I'm not like crazy about bookstores or anything, but I went looking for one book in particular called Citizen Soldiers. I think it's true stories written from actual World War II veterans. I think it mostly covers the Battle of the Bulge, but I heard it's an awesome book and I wanted to pick it up. So I went in there looking for it. Couldn't find it, asked if they had it, and they said the one copy they carried for a few years was no longer at the store because no one ever bought it because it's such an old book.
Yeah.
I was like, dang it, all right. But the bookstore itself was cool, and I was unaware that a bunch of beat poets used to come around that part of town and go in and out of all the stores there. And again, I'm not that into poetry, but the history of that part of town was pretty interesting to me. So because of that, I went into a cafe that's mostly a bar, but it's called Vestuvio Cafe. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Okay.
Apparently an also really famous spot where a bunch of beat poets used to go in there and hang out. And the vibe of the place was awesome. It's kind of hard to explain. There were 2 different floors, and it looked very old and was lit by like stained glass chandeliers and stuff.
Okay.
So the vibe of the place is cool. I can send you a picture of it later if you're interested. But
I am.
I had a beer there I think it was called like Steamworkers Brew or something. I can't remember what it was, but it was brewed specifically with the steamworkers in mind in San Francisco back in whatever decade it was. I can't remember, but phenomenal beer. I'd never had it before, so that was good. Hung out in there, had that. What else did I do? I went to one of many, actually I'd say countless pizza joints in North Beach. All of them had like over an hour wait. So I wound up going to a place where you kind of walk in, grab your pizza and leave. And it was all coal oven pizza. It was amazing. The slice, I got one slice because I think it was probably the size of like a wheel of a car. So it's basically one pizza and a slice.
Yeah.
The pizza was awesome. And then lastly, to cap the night, I went into a place called the Baked Bear Custom Ice Cream Sandwiches.
Oh my God.
I can't believe this exists, Jacob. It truly changed my life. So what you do when you go in there is you pick which fresh baked cookies you want. You can do 2 different cookies.
Are you telling me you're about to make an ice cream sandwich?
Yeah, custom ice cream sandwich.
No way.
So you can choose which fresh baked cookies you want. They're fresh and hot. You get to choose what kind of ice cream you want. So imagine any ice cream shop you've ever been into. They have every flavor you could possibly want. So you get to choose your ice cream on top of that. Then you can choose any toppings you want, like whipped cream, Reese's, any Brewster's topping you've ever heard of is what they have as well.
Yeah.
So I got my favorite. I got 2 freshly baked Snickerdoodle cookies with vanilla ice cream topped with bits of Reese's peanut butter cups.
Oh my God.
And it rocked my world, Jacob. It was far too much
lad.
food. I mean, I was a beached whale by the end of that, but it truly rocked my world, man. It was so good. And I had no idea that places like that existed. And it was probably one of the highlights of my trip was just that ice cream sandwich, man. It was incredible.
That sounds so good.
Yeah, overall, really fun trip to San Francisco. Really grateful I got to cover FIFA, and there's far more information coming. I actually got to interview a couple of the developers too on camera, which would be fun. So I think in total, after all my FIFA coverage is out, I'll have obviously all the written pieces, but I'll have 2 video versions of the written pieces I've done in addition to the video interview with a couple of the devs. So if anyone's interested in FIFA and hearing about it from my personal perspective, all that will be out within the next 2 weeks. So yeah, it was super fun, man. That was probably the bulk of what I did this week, but I'd love to hear what you got up to. You told me you have a pretty wild story to share from today, right?
Yeah, I do. We can jump right in on that front. So today I went to work. It was a normal day. I was giving the good people of Atlanta their freshly made meal plans that they so rightfully deserve. And, usually no problems happen when I am going about my days doing this. But today around noon, I was cruising down Peachtree Road, northeast in Atlanta. And I hear this clicking sound almost in my hood of my car. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't sound good. So I pull over in this Publix on Peachtree, right? And I pop my hood and I park the car and I still hear the sound of something spinning in the car, because you can usually hear things under the hood, but this was really loud. So I pop open my hood and there's this belt connected to what I think was the alternator. That's what my coworker told me. By the way, I know nothing about cars, so I'm popping this hood open. I'm looking in there. I don't know what the hell I'm looking at, right? So basically I see this belt that's spinning, but it's split. So it's like it's not fully attached. Like part of it is like hanging off, like slapping metal in the hood of the inside. You know, basically it's smacking all the metal in the under the hood. And this belt was made of like rubber. It's not like it's like destroying things inside the car. But so you know, I call my boss. He tells me to cut the spare piece off with like a pocket knife or something. So I do that. You know, I go into this Publix. You know, thankfully I was right by a Publix, which is a grocery store chain, by the way, for those that don't live down the southern U.S. I think it actually originated in Florida. But yeah, I cut it off and actually cut my finger trying to open the knife, by the way. You can't see it, but I like gashed my finger open. It still kind of hurts. I was wearing a Band-Aid, but I took a shower earlier. I took it off.
Did you have to amputate the rest of the finger?
No, no.
Okay.
Thankfully. It's my shooter finger, Garrett. It's my right pointer. Yeah, I can't get rid of that.
That's awful, man. How are you going to play Apex with a finger like that?
Oh, I'll put a Band-Aid on.
You have to shift to the middle finger. I think that's what the pros do. They actually shoot with their ring finger.
Really?
And then they aim with their pinky finger. And then the rest of the three fingers are meant to hold like a beverage of sorts in their hand. That way, so when they're playing, they can quickly take sips and then continue to shoot while holding their beverage.
I understand.
It's something I've tried to implement in my own play style because I've heard it's very, very effective, and I want to wind up like the kid who won the Fortnite tournament. So I'm gonna really do my best to make that a reality.
Yeah. Thank you for the advice, Garrett. But okay, so I cut the part of the belt that was loose. Get back in my car, restart it again. Turns out, I don't hear any noise anymore. So I think the problem is solved. I have these like loose pieces of rubber in my passenger seat. I just throw them on the floor. Think nothing of it. Go to my next stop. I park on this not like steep hill, but it's like, it's at an incline. It's probably like at like a 25-degree angle on a hill. Put the car in park, leave the lights on, put the emergencies on because I'm stopped in a lane. Walk to my next place, deliver the meal. Come back. I come back, look at my dash. Literally all the lights are on. Like every light imaginable you could see on the dash of your car, they were on in my van. So I'm like, okay, this isn't good. So I call my boss back. I try to put the car in drive, doesn't move. So obviously something really bad is going on. I pop the hood open again. Turns out the belt is just off, like it's gone. So I don't know what happens. It just completely came off. So basically I had to wait for someone to come rescue me. They had to help me finish the rest of my deliveries in their vehicle because they were actually driving up, on 400, as you know, where you've lived for most of your life and where I still do. He was like almost back and he had to like turn around and come get me in Atlanta, which I felt really bad for, but
man,
he's the only other one that works down in Atlanta. So he had to come rescue me. We finished that off and then I got back probably around 4 today. And I usually get done around maybe 1 or 2.
Man, bummer.
So I didn't go to the gym because of that, and I just came home and went for a long run. And
nice.
That's pretty much my story, but it just sucked. I up until now, I have not had any car troubles at work, and it was inevitable that it was going to happen. So
yeah, well, at least Jacob, after all that, you only came out with a mere gash on your trigger finger.
Yes, and my my van also needed new tires, so this is just an excuse for them to take it to the shop, get those tires on, get the new belt put in, and whatever else the hell is wrong with it, so I can be ready Thursday.
Yeah,
get back
into
really
action. Put that old tank through the ringer, haven't you?
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, I'm not the only one that's ever drove it. It's not a brand new van or by any means. But
yeah,
that's the wild story that happened today.
Man, want to hear something else wild?
Yes.
I had pokey again today.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
I hadn't had it since our lunch date, whenever that was, a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
But it was delectable, Jacob, to say the least.
I can imagine. Did you get the same thing?
Same thing, but I got a little less spice. I went about halfway in the spice, and it was just right.
Nice. Yeah, that's what I need to do next time. Because I liked what I got. Just good. a little too much kick.
Yeah. I'm all about the kick myself, but yeah, it was a little too intense last time, but today was great. You still want to go out on Thursday this week?
Yeah, let's do Thursday if you're free.
All right, let's get us a pizza. Let's share us a pie. 2 men sharing a pie. How about that?
Yeah.
I love the sound of that. I have one more relatively interesting story from this week, Jacob.
Okay. You go, then I go.
Okay. One of the venues I work at that's based in the greater Atlanta area is called the Vista Room. It's in Decatur. It's about 20 minutes from where I live, so it's a super easy drive, and it's a very intimate venue. It's much smaller than, say, Smith's or Masquerade. So I like it in that sense where it's a little cozier, and I'm in direct control of everything that's going on. And typically there's only one band that plays. This night in particular, there were 3 bands, but the venue itself is off a strip mall in Decatur. Just in the basic, I mean, it's in civilization, but to most like big bands, you'd never expect like a large musician or band to play there.
Yeah.
But I come to find out that Scott Stapp, the former vocalist of Creed, is performing there in September. And that's pretty wild for a couple of reasons. One, why on earth would he play at this venue when there are thousands of other venues, not literally, but countless other larger, more notable venues in Atlanta that he could play at and probably draw a bigger crowd?
Yeah.
And say what you will about Creed and Scott Stapp, but just the fact that any well-known musician like that would play at a venue like the Vista Room was just really surprising to me. And another factor into that is that my dad and I grew up listening to Creed a lot, just because we are listening to Metallica, The Doors, Creed, and a couple other bands. So I have a pretty extensive history with Creed, and I've actually seen them live once. Say what you will about their music, I know it's hilarious, but I thought it was really interesting that Scott Stapp, this former essentially retired rock star, performed at this venue. So I actually texted the main sound guy, who sort of is their main person there. And I told him, I was like, dude, I will straight up pay you to let me run sound for Scott Stapp in September. And he texted me back the following day. He's like, dude, you're like the 3rd guy that's tried to steal that show from me. He's like, I got to do it myself. He's like, and I'm really excited about it. It's like, all right. I'm like, that's going to be a hell of a story to be able to tell at some point. 'Cause that's why I wanted to do it, just to have the story. To be like, yeah, I ran sound for Scott Stapp at this dinky little venue in Decatur. But my dad got tickets because he thought it was going to be interesting. So I might actually just go to the show. But I tried to steal the show. I couldn't get it. But the only other funny thing from that night is the drummer from one of the bands and I got to talking about film and TV. He's like, oh, dude, you want to see something cool? I was like, sure. So he pulls up a video of his phone, and he has shots on his phone from Stranger Things, the first season, when Eleven flips that van in like the middle of the neighborhood street.
Yeah.
You remember that scene?
Yeah, I do.
So that van flips directly outside his house.
Dude, that's awesome.
In the show. So he was there when they shot all that, and they were there for a couple of days shooting that scene. And I think he said he and all of his neighbors got paid a certain amount to have like their property and stuff in the film.
Yeah.
So he just sat out on his porch and watched them film for like 2 days straight. And he had both shots that they did. They only did 2 takes of the van flipping because obviously it's expensive. So he has both shots on his phone just right in his front yard of the van flipping.
That's awesome.
I thought that was kind of cool to have that. But he says a ton of studios shoot all that because he lives in Tucker. And something about his neighborhood just looks like it could pass for a neighborhood basically anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why he said he's seen a lot of studios come out there and shoot either on his street or adjacent streets. And they just happened to shoot that Stranger Things scene right in his front yard. So
hey, that's awesome.
I thought it was very cool.
So what did they use to flip the car? Like, what kind of rig was this?
I'm not sure. I think it's like I didn't ask him. I don't think he knows. I've seen different rigs out there in like behind the scenes featurettes and stuff. I think there's like spring loaded things. There's actual explosives that cause it to flip. Sometimes they're on wires to make it look like it's exploding, but in reality, it's all done with visual effects.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what they did for that scene. I couldn't really tell, but I thought that was really interesting. So
that's awesome.
That was, aside from video games, Jacob, that was basically my week. It was a fun one.
Gotcha.
What else did you get up to?
This weekend was my birthday. That was a thing that happened. I turned 27. Nothing too exciting, but
27 on the 27th.
That's right. This only happened once in my life.
Yeah, that's wild, man.
It happens. I guess it happens to everyone at least once because there's 31 days in a month, most months, and everyone turns 31 hopefully. But didn't do a whole lot that day. Like, I did a lot of stuff, but nothing like too crazy. I woke up, had some burgers. That was good. Didn't wake up till like 11. It was great. So I did that. Then I went and got some new shoes. Then I came back and I decided I wanted to go for a run for whatever reason, just because I was going to have a big dinner. And I wanted to go burn off some little calories before I went and did that. So I went to, you know where the Greenway is, right, Garrett?
I do.
Yeah, I went to that place, ran a few miles. It was a good time. I hadn't been there in years, so it was nice to see what they've changed, see all the stuff they've been building around that area. It was cool to see. I appreciate some nice scenery as aside from the outside of a neighborhood that I usually see when I run. But I did that, and then we went to Olive Garden, Garrett, the best place in the world. My God, it was so good.
I'm a big fan. I don't know if I call it the best place in the world, but it's probably my top 10.
I love it so much. I have a very big fondness for Olive Garden. I don't know why, but I didn't get the soup, salad, and breadsticks like I usually do.
That's my go-to.
I told myself I had to do something different. I had to, explore the rest of the restaurant, see what they had to offer. So I got this dish called the Tour of Italy, which is basically just 3 different pasta dishes. It goes chicken parm, Alfredo, and lasagna.
Yeah, sounds very, what'd you say it was called? Trip of Italy?
Yeah, Tour of Italy.
Tour of Italy. Nice.
Yeah. So not only did I barely finish this plate, and I've never been so stuffed in my life, but their chicken parm is very underrated, I think. I never hear anyone talk about it, but the chicken patty itself was like really crispy and juicy. Like it was just really good.
You're a crispy and juicy man if you didn't know.
Thank you. You've told me many times.
In your age, you're aged well like a good steak.
Oh, thank you.
Are a steak aged, or am I thinking of something else?
I don't think steaks are aged. Like a fine wine.
That's what I meant. So I need a little more coffee this evening. I'm a little drowsy.
I wish I had some. I'm feeling a little tired too. Got up early. But yeah, that was pretty much my birthday. Nothing too crazy. It was fun. Spent some time with the family. That night before, I went out drinking with a couple buddies, Evan and Elliot, as I'm sure you know. I tried to get you to come out, but I did. I asked if you were busy Friday, and you said you were.
Did I say I was probably working, I guess.
Yeah. So I wanted you to come out. I asked like several people, but everyone was busy that night. I mean, it was last night. I'd have been there if I was not working. Yeah. But yeah, that was a good time. Just had some drinks. Went to Rocky Mountain Pizza on Georgia Tech. I love that place.
Oh, yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, I love that place so much.
Man, you were really close to me.
Oh, yeah.
What bars did you go to?
Well, from there we went over to Ormsby's and Little Trouble.
Yeah, I was right there. Dang it.
And then
I was working still, but
then I think we went over to Buckhead somewhere, and then we went to a strip club.
Oh, that's thrilling, I guess.
Yeah.
I would have opted out of that part, but everything else I would have joined you for.
Yeah. It was a good time. But I didn't really get anything too crazy. Actually, I did. Actually, one of the gifts that my grandma got me, she got me a year's worth supply, I guess you would say, of free car washes from a place that I work across the street from. So I thought that was a pretty cool gift. So I don't have to.
Did you say a year of free car washes?
Yeah, a year of free car washes, as much as I want, unlimited.
That's insane, man.
I know.
Wow.
So I'm gonna take my car by there after work tomorrow and test her out, see how she is. And besides that, I got a new headset, which I'm wearing right now. There's no video version of the podcast, but it's the Logitech Pro headset. I liked how it looked, and it's very comfy on my head, which is something I've really been looking for the past few years, because every headset that I buy puts too much pressure on my ears and top of the dome of my head. But this one so far feels pretty good. It's got a lot of cushion, and it's not too tight. So
I'm glad to hear it, man.
I'm looking forward to less what's the right word?
Less pain while gaming.
Yes, exactly. But while also having that, quality sound that I so desperately desire.
Absolutely.
But besides that, man, just been playing some games. I finished Stranger Things season 3.
Yeah,
it was really good. Really good.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
I love the little scene at the very end. I'm not going to talk about it for spoiler reasons, but I like how it kind of sets up for the what's going to come next. And I'm excited for the future, man. I don't know which season I like the most. I still think I liked the first season the most, but 3 is right up there. But 2 is good too. It's a good show. Now I wonder how long they're going to keep it going. I don't know if they've said, through interviews or conventions or anything like that, but I'm sure they could keep this going on for a good while, because this plot, it could go anywhere, and they really opened it up this season. That's for sure. But besides that, man, just been playing games and enjoying life.
I'm glad, Jake. I'm so glad. Speaking of headsets, I think tonight I'm just going to make the executive decision to go ahead and order a new PlayStation Gold headset. Now, a lot of people probably find that questionable, but I just love that headset. It's never failed me. It's always been super cozy. And the one I've had, I've just worn to literal shreds. The earmuffs have been flaking off like the plastic covering.
Mine are too. Do you have the white ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. Mine are like brown.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it snowed on my desk because they shred so much, and I'm so gentle with them. But by the time I take them off, it's just everywhere, and it's just driving me insane.
Yeah.
So I need a new one. I actually gave Preston my headset I recently reviewed for COG. It was called the Mobius, the
Razer,
the Audi's Mobius headset. I just did
Audi's?
not like it very much. It was terribly uncomfortable. So now when I reviewed it, I thought it was comfortable. I guess I just didn't wear it long enough. I wore it for about an hour before I started writing about it.
Yeah.
And beyond that hour, I realized I'm like, this is horribly painful. So
was it like big?
No, it's a pretty lightweight headset. It's not anything massive by any means, but
Yeah.
I didn't like it very much. I just like the simplicity of the Gold headset.
I got you.
I mean, the Mobius is also extremely customizable, not only in terms of the audio itself, but the way it functions with game to game, and you can customize different EQs and all. I know multiple headsets have those features, but this one was probably the most in depth I personally seen.
Yeah.
So that's a nice plus, but I'm more of a simple man when it comes to the headphones I wear while gaming, so I opted out of those. So Preston has them, but I'm gonna order a new Gold headset, Jacob. It's been too long, and I'd like to have it sooner than later because I'm tired of my desk looking like a winter wonderland.
I think it's a relatively cheap headset too. I don't know for sure, but I don't think it's too much.
The Gold?
Yeah.
Yeah, last I looked, it was $75.
Oh, really?
That's
It's
fine.
that much?
Yeah.
I thought it was
that's
cheaper
fine
than
by
that.
me. I thought that was cheap.
It is
compared to
cheap.
most
Yeah.
headsets.
Relatively
It's
speaking, that's on the low end of headset price.
yeah, but yeah, I'm gonna do that tonight, definitely.
And we're also going to play some games tonight, right? Is that
Yeah,
the
I'd
plan?
really like to play some Apex with you. Not Jacob and I. Actually, Zach and Andy played on Xbox last night and did win a match, but it was one of those stupid matches where we're just kind of standing around and we just automatically win.
Yeah. You don't see anyone.
So it wasn't even relatively satisfying, and we just got massacred over and over and over again last night. It's just one of those nights, man, where just nothing went our way, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So
One of those nights where you question why you even play games.
exactly. So maybe you and I can have a better chance this evening together on PC. We'll see.
Yeah, I was actually talking to another buddy of mine over the weekend. He said we should play tonight, so hopefully we'll have a full squad.
Cool. Yeah, I know Zach's actually going to join us on this podcast briefly for one of the community questions. I'm going to call him. Hopefully he can still talk when we actually do call him. But so we look forward to having him on tonight.
Nice.
But aside from playing Apex on not 360, Xbox One, I dabbled in the 1.0 update for Hunt Showdown on the test server. It hasn't launched officially for the actual game, but I will say the UI and just the main menus is really jarring. Like they've completely changed the layout of the game, which I guess is fine. I'm certain I'll get used to it over time, but it's just so cluttered and just looks like a mess to me. So I'm questioning why they made it so complicated when I feel like the simplicity of it before worked just fine. Because all the same features are there, with the exception of blood packs, which I don't know too much about yet. But aside from that, everything you do in the menus is the same. It just looks radically different. It just looks way busier than it used to. So that kind of annoyed me when I got on there. I failed to mention last week that you can play in squads of 3 now, which is interesting.
Really?
Yeah, so it can be 3 players on the team, which is kind of cool.
Interesting.
That's the thing about Hunt is I know you can choose whether or not you want to play with squads that large, but I've always the game is certainly improved in many, many ways. And I'll have to, maybe I could do like a formal personal review of Hunt Showdown. That's not COG related, just something for our channel since I'm so passionate about that game. But when the 1.0 official version of the game actually launches,
yeah,
maybe really do an in-depth review on that, because while the game has improved vastly, and I'm still a huge fan of it, I feel like, again, that's why I wanted to review, because maybe I'll play squads of 3 and really, really love it. But I've always loved either the the lonesomeness that coincides with playing obviously by yourself and just how daunting that can be as a player, and then even playing in squads of 2. It's just unique in that sense where you not often, but here and there you'll have these 2-on-2 encounters that are really, really interesting, especially when 3 squads of 2 kind of end up in the same position. So gameplay scenarios like that have always just really attracted me to the game. So I'm wondering how squads of 3 really changes things up in that aspect. But yeah, I don't know anything about blood packs. That's a new thing, so I'll have to look into that. But my first impression, I didn't get into a match because the test server was having all kinds of issues when I got on there, but the menu itself was a little weird. So we'll see how I feel about it in the coming weeks when I actually get into the 1.0 version officially. So
you hear that, Crytek? Your menu sucks.
Yeah.
It's Crytek, right?
It might not. I may grow to love it, but just at first glance, just swiping through everything, I was not too happy with it.
Get the menu out!
Yeah. What else did I play, Jacob?
You tell me.
I don't think I played anything. I
You didn't
played
play
Red
a
Dead
Switch,
Online
that's
for like
for damn
5
sure.
seconds. Just for whatever reason, I felt like getting on Red Dead and I was bored in like 20 minutes. So I will not be going back. That's the second chance I've given Red Dead Online in the last 2 weeks. I'm like, for some reason, I feel like I'm not giving this game enough of a chance. And I realize when I'm bored, when I flip through the catalog of the game, like I want to just buy a very basic new hat just because I want a new hat. It's like, you have to be ranked 68 to get this boring ass hat. I'm like, F that. I'm like, that's so dumb. Like, I hate when cosmetics are tied to ranks in games for some, at least a game like that just annoys me. Yeah. Like, let me just rank up a bunch of cash playing the game and just buy whatever I want when I can afford it. I'd rather have to just work for like a sum of money, like in-game currency, versus like I have to play countless hours to reach a level 68 to buy a hat that I can get in the first 5 minutes of the campaign.
Yeah, either that or have like multiple ways you can unlock one item, depending how you want to play or whatever.
That's when I realized both times I played that I was bored, so I stopped.
Yeah.
I don't think I played anything else though, not that I can recall. So
okay,
that's all I got, Jacob.
Okay. Well, I played Apex too, just a little bit. I actually really cut down on my playtime this week just because I was distracted doing other things and also trying to burn through Octopath before the new game came out that I want to talk about here in a second. But I also played Octopath. I'm at another part where I'm stuck again. I'm trying to fight a boss that's really tough. So that kind of ticked me off a little bit. I haven't played it in a couple days. Hopefully I'll pick it back up and finish it here in the next couple of weeks. But right now, kind of putting it to the side because I'm really excited about a new game that came out this last Friday. And it's a little game called Fire Emblem Three Houses, Garrett. So this is the first time that I've ever played a Fire Emblem. So just right off the bat, I want to get that out of the way. But I knew I was going to like this game from the coverage and the discussion that I've heard around it. But I didn't know that I was going to end up really kind of loving this game. Let me explain why. So, Gary, you know I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, right? You're aware of this, I'm sure.
Jacob, I am
we've
very well
many,
aware of that.
Many quotes in our time together.
I think you and I quote Harry Potter more than anyone else I know.
Yes, maybe more than anyone in the world.
Quite possibly. I like to believe it.
But this game, so you start out, you're like a mercenary and you're working with your father, and you meet these like 3 students. I'm kind of spoiling the beginning of the game, but it's not like that important because there's so much to this game. But you meet these like 3 students that go to this school that's in the center of the continent and they're part of 3 different countries that all make up this continent. And all these students of this land go to this school for whatever reason. I don't know why. Politics or whatever. And you like save their lives because they were out like wandering or they were hunting or something and mercenaries attacked them. So you save them. You go back to the school and you're like, oh, blah, 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 blah. They want to recruit your dad to like be a knight or whatever. He does that. Or like he used to be a knight there, but he ran away. Yada, yada, yada. So you end up taking on the role of being a teacher somehow. So now you're a teacher at this school. And what's really cool is that because you're a teacher, first of all, you pick like a class. So there's 3 classes. There's the Black Eagles, the yellow and the blue.
The golden squirrels.
One's like the blue bears. Like I don't know what all the names are. I just know the Black Eagles are the one I chose, which is their house leader is Edelgard, and she's like one of the 3 that I saved in that forest or whatever. And basically, you take on the students of that class, and you it's cool because like they all have like things that they're better at, like. For example, Edelgard, she's like good at swords and she has authority skill. But just because she's good at those things doesn't mean you have to train her to be good at those things. Like you can take any one of these characters and you can customize them any which way you want to become any class or play style that you want them to be. And this is a tactical game, by the way. So for those that don't really know what that is, it's like you got like a grid placemat, and it's all about positioning your units and, you know, attacking when it's necessary or moving your units out of the way to avoid incoming attacks. Because there is, if you play this game a certain way, there is permadeath. So you don't want to lose your units if you're playing that way. But thankfully, there is like a little mechanic that you can rewind time if you really want to, if you like accidentally one died, which one did. In like my very first battle, I was being stupid because I don't know what I'm doing. And I moved a unit, like one of my healer units, like out to attack someone, and they ended up dying. But it was cool. I used the feature to rewind time. It took me back a couple turns, but I made sure I didn't make the same mistake twice. But going back to the Harry Potter thing, it's really cool because you literally like spend time training your students to like raise their skills. And you do this so they can take certification exams to become like new classes. For example, there's like a cleric class, which is like a healer. There's like a wyvern rider, which is like literally a dude riding on a dragon, which is really cool. There's knights, there's warriors, there's like the mages. There's so many different kinds of classes and cool ways you can customize your students. And you can also like recruit other students from other classes or houses, which is really cool. So if you like this one class, like the Black Eagles that I chose, but you really like a student that really stuck out to you from another class, you can go out of your way to sort of like impress them and make them want to join your class, which is really cool. And it's just really cool, like customizing your experience to how you want to play the game. And what happens after this is like something bad happens, I guess, and a big war breaks out. So all these students are kind of like going against each other at some point. And I don't know how that happens or what develops after that. But I'm definitely excited to see what happens. And this is like one of those games where the choices you make or the relationships that you build kind of determines how the outcome of the game is going to unfold. So like maybe you do a favor for someone at some point, and then later on down the line, you develop a relationship with them, or two characters develop a relationship with one another, and you benefit from that because their stats increased or their bond together increased. So they're better together when they stand on the battlefield. They're like have better stats, just stuff like that. Really nerdy stuff, but I know we have a lot of people on our Discord that are playing this game right now, and they know somewhat what I'm talking about. I'm obviously a first time player, so maybe what I'm saying isn't making any sense. But I'm still trying to get the grip of all the systems in this game, because there is a lot. And like you can fish, you can plant flowers in the greenhouse, you can teach your students, you can meet with instructors so you can train yourself better. Like there's just so much to this game. Like it's not just like tactical battles. Like this game has just so much in it, and I'm still just I'm only 7 hours in, so I'm really kind of still discovering what this game is all about. But just after my initial 7 hours, I'm just like, man, why have I not played more of these Fire Emblem games? Like I'm really enjoying this, and dude, I'm like, I want to play right now. Can we end the podcast right now? Is that something we can do?
Well, Jacob, before we end the podcast, may I chime in with a question from our own Handsome Jack in relation to Fire Emblem?
Sure.
I think it fuel this conversation even further.
Okay.
Handsome Jack says, "Greetings, Garrett the Girthy," and I gotta zoom in on this camera.
Garrett the Girthy.
Yeah.
What?
Let me actually pull up this other page. You can read it easier. Garrett the Girthy, Jacob the Genital Joustal Hustler. Also, honorable mention to Preston the Phantom, because he's like a ghost. Fucking invisible. Just kidding. I know you have a lot on your plate. And I just really, that is an excellent quote there, by the way. Miss your voice. Please come back. I'm not going to go on a big ass tangent like I usually do. I'll save that for later. Don't worry. Because this week I'm a lot more excited than I usually am to submit a question, thanks to my passion for the subject of said question. So Fire Emblem 3 Houses dropped last Friday, and I know that both Jacob and various members on the Discord have delved into it in varying degrees. Myself, I've decided to tackle the game on hard classic mode, all because I'm not a little bitch, aka Jacob.
Yes, I am playing on normal, but I'm also playing on classic, which is permadeath.
Okay, interesting. All right. I found, to my pleasure, that this game mixes functions from both old and new Fire Emblem games, such as the wait system, which is from pretty early on in the series, removing the weapon triangle, which was done recently in Echoes of Valentia, but newer things, forgive me guys, but newer things as well, as such as fully voice and support conversations. Of course, largely the game is quite different from from previous entries, but it's a difference that I, as a person who is inherently suspicious and apprehensive of unrested changes, enjoy to the fullest. Now tell me, what's one franchise that changed quite a bit between two separate entries, preferably chronologically succeeding titles, but you found yourself enjoying it all the same?
One thing I got to say that he reminded me of, the characters in this game also, Garrett, like there are tons of students at this school in each class. And you'd be shocked at like how different each one of these characters are, and like how like they're literally all so different. And that's why it's so great. Like you can like some of these other characters, and there's more in this other house that have like a different, just there's completely different, and you like them too, and you want to bring them onto your class. There's just so many different dynamics happening all at once. And also the cutscenes in this game are pretty damn good. Some of the like unfortunately, a lot of the backdrops when the cutscenes are going on, they're like kind of static. Like they're not even real backgrounds. They're like a picture almost. So you just see like moving like people in the scenes. It's not a big deal. It's just one little minor complaint I have. But the cutscenes in general, just like things that happen in them and the characters that are involved, are really cool. But going back to his question, this is a toughie. Do you have any ideas?
Let me be generic here for a second. The first that comes to mind is the jump from Assassin's Creed 1 to Assassin's Creed 2. For those that have played it know it's quite different, but a very successful leap that, of course, was revolutionized again, jumping from Origins came out after Unity. So even Unity to Origins was a massive change. So the Assassin's Creed franchise is continually very slowly revolutionized itself, and it seems to be quite successful because people that have both played Origins and especially Odyssey have nothing but, for the most part, great things to say about the games. So I think I've done a good job with that. Personally, I'm trying to think of anything that's really
this is a tough
vastly changed. Let me reread this. It says, what's one franchise that changed quite a bit between two separate entries, but you found yourself enjoying it all the same? I will say from Call of Duty 2 to 3, because that was the first, I think it was the first Call of Duty Treyarch developed, was Call of Duty 3. And it was not even remote. I mean, it was Call of Duty at the end of the day, but in terms of the way the game felt mechanically, it felt nothing like Call of Duty 2. And many people did not like that at the time, but I was one of the very few diehard fans of Call of Duty 3. And to this day, I've never been better at a multiplayer game than I was at Call of Duty 3. Maybe because I was the only person that was that passionate about it, that I just played it 24/7. So that was a leap that, to the general Call of Duty community, even back then, people were not too happy about, it seemed, online, but I was one of the few fans that really, really enjoyed it. That was also the first game I ever played my own Xbox Live on. I'd always played at buddies' houses, but that was the first time I played online. I remember putting my mic in. I was playing, I can't remember I remember the map, I just don't remember the name, but I remember being on a Call of Duty match and just being like, can anyone hear me? Like really softly. These guys are like yammering to each other. I was playing on the German or Axis at the time.
Yeah.
They're talking so loud they can't hear me. I'm like, can anyone hear me? And finally someone's like, yeah, dude, we can hear you. Get to the flag. It's like, okay.
I have a few like boring ones that just come to the top of my head.
Okay,
like Uncharted 1 to 2. I feel like Uncharted 2 still kind of feels like a modern game. Uncharted 1 feels like dated as heck, dude.
It does, yeah.
Did you ever go back to it when the collection came out?
Uncharted 1 to 2, especially. But the first game I actually ever played was 3, and then I went back and played 2, and then I played 1, and then I played 4.
Gotcha. See, I had the pleasure of playing them all in chronological order, so.
Wait, I take that back. I played 2, then 3, then 1, then 4, and then Legacy.
Wait, you didn't like play 1, then you go back and play 2, 3?
No, because the first one I ever played was 2, because Preston had just raved about it to me. And 3 had already been out, but I figured, I'm like, well, at the time it was way long before the collection had come out. I just bought a discounted PS3 from him. Actually, ironically, my sister's ex-boyfriend, after they'd broken up, sold me the PS3. So I played 2 and then jumped into 3 and then went back and played 1 shortly before 4 came out.
Gotcha.
So,
what else did I come up with in my head? Oh no. It's like I knew them and now I don't.
I mean,
I got to think of at least one other.
I mean, Halo 1 to 2 was a massive, massive leap. And even
True.
the story behind Halo 2's development is fascinating. How they managed to turn that, like, I think this is a well-renowned opinion. Not everyone holds this opinion, but it is, in my opinion, one of the most legendary shooters ever made. And, or renowned, I should say, shooters ever made. And the story behind where they went with Halo 1 to 2 is just incredible. And I mean, still at the end of the day, it's a Halo game, but it plays so differently and feels so much different from 1. So I think that's another example for me personally. That is much different.
Yeah.
I know I have a tendency to talk about the same games. It's just because I'm so passionate about key
that's what
games
you
from
know.
my past.
You should speak to what you know.
Gears 1 to 2 in terms of the campaign was hugely different. And I know Josh Scriber actually has a question about Gears that we're going to get to. They just improved in so many ways that, gameplay at the end of the day was mostly the same. But as far as storytelling in that franchise, it changed significantly in the second game for the better.
Yeah. I remember, so I pretty much started playing Call of Duty seriously, I would say, as the young kids say, when Black Ops 2 was out. But I remember the jump from like Ghost to Advanced Warfare, because Ghost was kind of the last time that they had like boots on the ground. And then they went like complete, like ever since Advanced Warfare, everything's been like jumping around, running on walls, flying in the fucking air. Like that's when they kind of like just let loose on just the craziness of Call of Duty. And
Right.
I remember just being kind of taken aback by that. Like I was excited for it, but I didn't end up playing Advanced Warfare nearly as much as I did Ghost or Black Ops 2. But that was probably just a time and place thing. It wasn't necessarily because I didn't enjoy Advanced Warfare. It was just because I was playing other stuff. But yeah, I don't have any other good ones. Sorry, Handsome Jack.
It's all good. On a side note, man, this Call of Duty is easily the most excited I've been for Call of Duty since Modern Warfare 2 back in the day.
Dude,
which is ironic because it's another Modern Warfare title, but not obviously from that main trilogy. It's like kind of the rebooted version, but
right.
I am so excited. And obviously, as we know, on the 1st is the multiplayer reveal this week. So we'll talk about that next week, of course. But I am so bummed that I don't get to go to the event myself because I had a ton of fun at the Black Ops 4 event last year.
Yeah.
I've been to many like shooter events. Like I think the coolest event I've been to, I'd have to like go through my head. Like Destiny 2 was very, very cool.
Yeah, I bet that was cool.
It was funny. That was one of the first events I ever went to, and it's still to this day one of the coolest events I've been at. Because all we did was play Destiny 2 for like 5 days straight.
Sounds so fun.
And everyone stayed in the hotel, so you would wake up, they'd have breakfast and coffee. You go to your station that was designated to you. You just play Destiny all day long,
My God.
and then go do whatever you want in Seattle, and wake up the next day, play Destiny again all day long.
Didn't you say you met Dado at that event?
That was at a Destiny DLC event later on at Bungie itself. But yeah, I met Dado and Mr. Fruit in the same place.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't much watch them anymore, but they're definitely big names in the Destiny community.
Yeah, it was funny to see them because it's one of those situations where you recognize them, but because you're so used to seeing them on a screen that when you see them in person, it kind of throws you off for a second.
Right.
I was like, wait a second, I know you guys.
So you're not supposed to be here.
I'm like, you're Dado and Mr. Fruit.
Yeah.
So I talked to them for a little bit, and I've always been brave enough to like throw It's Obvious out there because I know nothing's, especially to influencers, nothing's probably ever going to come of it. But I'm like, you never know. So of course, at the end of the conversation, it's like, just so you guys know, man, like my buddies and I like have this YouTube thing too, and like maybe we can check it out.
Give
or
us
something.
a shout out.
These guys have like millions of subscribers. I'm like, yeah, I'll just give you my card. Maybe we can like hook up sometime, dude. And then I like do a triple backflip and cartwheel out of the room just to impress them. So it's never actually paid off, but I've always thrown our information out there at like E3 and stuff. And it's never like whenever I'm in a COG setting, I never bring that up. Whenever it's just nonchalant, like at the after party of something or just passing by someone in a hall somewhere, that's when if that conversation kind of arises, I'll bring it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know how we got to that, but Call of Duty, man, I'm so excited to see multiplayer in action. And I know for a fact I'm going to crap my pants because just, I think it was this past week on Twitter, I don't even think it was Infinity Ward. Someone got it from somewhere. One of the multiplayer intros is you and your team fly in on a helicopter into the map, and then you get off the helicopter in the multiplayer match.
I think
begins.
they did actually like tweet that out and stuff.
Okay, 'cause even that alone is just such a cool detail to me.
Oh yeah.
So I cannot wait to see that in action. I think the rumored beta date when it starts is the 27th of August.
Okay.
I hope that date's true because that's obviously shortly before the game actually launches. So I would just love to get my hands on that game. I'm so bummed I'm not there, but I'm happy for the individual from COG who gets to attend, and I'm confident their coverage is going to be tight.
100%.
So I look forward to that this week.
I saw, before you continue, I saw on Twitter today as I was scrolling down, as I do on my feed, and they are bringing back kill streaks. So it's not going to be like score streaks like in Black Ops. There'll be actual kill streaks this time around. And they showed like the
that is like what I'm talking about, man.
They showed like some armor or something. They showed like a helicopter, and then they showed like something else. I don't know.
I know they've rumored the nukes coming back. You've heard about the nuke, haven't you?
Yeah, it's always been in Infinity Ward games, right?
It was only in Modern Warfare 2, actually.
Okay.
It may have been in 3, but I didn't play enough of 3 to remember if it was or not.
I swear there was another one in one that wasn't that long ago.
That's like the ultimate like flex when you can get a nuke.
Yeah, that's 30 kills, right?
I think
without dying.
It's 25 or 30, one of the two. But even that alone, just without dying, is fascinating. But sometimes it was kind of cheap because if you could, I think it was 7 or 8 kills in a row, you would unlock the attack helicopter. Yeah. And if people suck in a match, you can get an easy 15 kills with the attack helicopter, like no questions asked in Modern Warfare 2. So you could jump to the nuke pretty easily.
I thought they had to be gun kills. Can it be like kill streak kills?
I think maybe they updated it because I think originally people were getting nukes so often they had to adjust it to where it only counted if you killed someone with a firearm.
Yeah.
So I'd actually personally prefer it that way if they bring it back because I think that's where the real skill comes in is actually surviving boots on the ground with just a gun, getting 25 kills in a row.
Sure.
So, but yeah, we won't, forgive me for rambling on Call of Duty here. We'll talk about it plenty next week, but I'm just personally very excited for it.
Dude, I'm glad to hear that you're excited for Call of Duty. I'm glad something's exciting you.
And you can guarantee, Jacob, I will be dabbling on old PC again because even Black Ops 4, which I played very little of, surprisingly, felt incredible on PC. So I can only hope that Infinity Ward, if they're doing it in-house or if Beanox is doing this version again, I'm sure we'll find out this week who's done the PC version. I would hope that Activision wants to maintain that trend, like it winds up on Battle.net or whatever. Because I think that worked out really, really well. With Black
actually,
Ops 4.
Modern Warfare is already on Battle.net as a pre-order. So.
Oh, excellent. Perfect. Yep. Yeah, we're good to go, man. I'm excited. But in terms of Fire Emblem, Handsome Jack, bringing that up, I wanted to say that I watched a bit of a stream earlier, and it looks really cool, even though I've never played a Fire Emblem. And even hearing you talk about it makes me want to play it even more because everyone's talking about it right now.
Yeah.
And of course, when the next big Switch game comes out, I lose my Switch, which really sucks.
It is a lot to like take in, though, and it's a big game. So maybe it's not exactly for you. I don't know. But I definitely am enjoying it. So thank you for the Fire Emblem. Well, I guess it wasn't really a Fire Emblem question, but yeah, Fire Emblem related nonetheless. But thank you for your question, Handsome Jack. But that's all I played this week, Garrett.
Well, Jacob, there was one other thing I played that I this is a bad sign too that I forgot because I even made a video of it. Was Wolfenstein Youngblood.
Oh yeah. You also played Gears, did you not?
I did not play Gears this week. No.
Oh, okay, that was last week.
Yeah, I did not dabble in the tech test again, but. Preston and I played a chunk of Wolfenstein Youngblood. Pluses for me are I like the customization. I mean, it's purely, and the weapons are like been there, done that with the customizations. That's cool, I guess. There's a couple new ones that I had not seen, and I always get the names of the game mixed up. I think it was New Colossus and New Order, maybe.
New Colossus.
I'm just gonna call
the
them
new one. In
terms of this generation, I'll just call them Wolfenstein 1 and 2. It's way easier to say that.
There you go.
Couple new weapons in there. BJ's daughters in particular, I think, are awesome. I can't remember their names because I've barely played the game, but they're fun to see on screen, and their interactions with each other and the other characters is pretty good.
Okay, so far so good.
Yep. Originally, I will say I still love the idea of enemies having like basically different armor types to where certain weapons affect them differently. For example, if it's like a heavy guy, you want to use like your heavy machine gun to like whittle down his armor and kill him
almost
quicker.
Like a Destiny thing with like auras or something. Yeah,
very similar to that. So I was like, oh wow, I really like that idea, but it kind of got old to me after a while because these enemies are just a little too bullet spongy for my taste. Even when you do use the proper weapon, it can sometimes take a while to kill certain enemies.
Yeah.
And while I do like that idea, I found the act of just swapping weapons, what seemingly felt like every other kill, was just really annoying after a while. Because sometimes I do just like to whip out my shotgun and go to town on like 50 guys in a row. But I think the idea behind machine games switching that up was to be like, well, let's encourage people to use like the handguns or the DMRs or the machine guns or submachine guns. So I can see why they would have that mindset, is like, we really want people to like experiment with all the weapons we have to offer. I'm sure there's more to it than that. That's probably part of the concept, but execution is not quite as strong as I feel like it could be. Again, I'm not a developer, so I don't necessarily have the solution, but that got old a little bit after a while. Gameplay is fine. It's kind of interesting because it's all based in what they call New Paris. So you're going in different sections of Paris in these basic little hub worlds where you can explore and find collectibles, and there's all sorts of different missions and even side missions that can play out in each respective area. So it's sort of it's not like a Metroidvania-esque, but kind of has that feel where you can go back to areas you were at previously, and say you unlocked a new ability to like smash through a wall. You can find like a hidden chest with collectibles or ammo types or coins or whatever to invest in your weapons and gear. So that's kind of cool. I need to play more of it to really have like a really strong like final impression of it, I think. But
yeah,
overall, I am enjoying it. I think it's fun. I am slightly annoyed by the bullet spongy enemies, but aside from that, I think it's pretty strong. And I've heard that the ending of it sets up a relatively exciting future for the mainline Wolfenstein games.
Yeah, I heard that too. I don't know what it is, but
right. I mean, even jumping to the 80s alone is, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the last game took place in the 60s, maybe? Because obviously his daughters look like they're in their 20s. This game takes place
way in the future, apparently.
Yeah, so this is obviously much later in BJ's life. He's like basically an old man in this game.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I assume they'll continue on. I haven't seen the ending.
I heard someone say like this could set up like an ending, like where Wolfenstein 3 happens before this, or maybe after it too. That you don't really know.
Right. Okay. Interesting. All right. Now I'll get there eventually. Preston and I played co-op. I don't know when he and I will get to play together again because he's out of town the whole week.
Yeah. So did you play like more co-op or more alone?
I played the first 20 minutes. I played alone, and it was just fine.
Okay.
Feels like any other standard Wolfenstein experience. You just have a co-op partner that's either AI or a real player.
Yeah, forgive me if you touched on this, but like, is the co-op partner like good? Are they useful, or is it mostly just you?
Yeah, they're not. Like some games you'll play like that and you have like an ally that just does not contribute.
They just hide behind a wall or something.
Yeah. But yeah, the AI is pretty strong. It was definitely far more fun playing with Preston, just because obviously we're communicating the whole time, and that Wolfenstein gameplay is fun on its own, but playing with a buddy is also really cool.
So I heard one other complaint that really stuck out to me, and it's about the whole leveling thing. How do you feel about the leveling experience, and do you really feel like it might take something away from like the classic? Because like, you know, Wolfenstein or Doom, they've always been like really classic, you know, just lots of hardcore action, lots of gore, you know, so they have like a classic feel for like a FPS. But like this game kind of introduces like leveling, and apparently there's missions where you have to be a certain level to do enough damage to the enemies or something like that. Did you really run into trouble like that? Because I've heard people complain about that.
I have not made it far enough into the game to have an opinion on that yet.
I had a feeling that would be your answer, but definitely speak to that whenever you do progress farther.
Oh, I will definitely. I'll probably have more to say about it next week, because I know seeing this Call of Duty, like I said, is going to put me in a shooter mood. That, in addition to the stuff I saw from Doom Eternal today, I may even, like you did, just run through Doom again on PC before Eternal, because I have it installed and I played the first few levels of the game. And
I don't regret it.
On PC especially, man, I just love it so much. So I'm getting more and more excited about that as well. And I think I've like really like conditioned myself to be especially excited for shooters, because the last 6 months of my life, all I had time for was like bite-sized shooter experiences for the most part.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't get really invested in like an open world or in-depth RPG. So that, I think it's just like I've classically conditioned myself to like want that really badly right now.
Sure.
But I'm hoping I can get into something. I would have totally been playing Fire Emblem right now had I had my Switch and play that before I go back to school in September.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I cannot afford a new Switch at the moment, which is really disappointing.
It wasn't meant to be. No,
definitely not. But in time, that along with 1,000 other RPGs. But the one I will undoubtedly make time for is Cyberpunk in April of next year. Granted, I'll have graduated by then, so that's perfect. Hopefully, I actually have a job outside of college. We'll see. But and of course, I play Death Stranding and Fallen Order as far as single player experiences are concerned. So,
yep.
Yeah, bruh. I don't think there's anything else to talk about from the week necessarily, but I do want to talk about, and before we get to community questions, because news obviously is very sparse over the summer months. But Quakecon is, I think, currently happening. I was confused. I could have sworn it was last week, but apparently it's this week. And I saw a live stream of a entire Doom Eternal level from the game. It's not even the most recent build, which is interesting because it obviously already looks phenomenal. But the devs were saying that they've already made visual updates and a couple different gameplay things have been tweaked. But from what I saw, it was similar. I think it was part of the same E3 demo where you're on I think it's called Phomos or Fastos. I can't remember the name of the planet. It's like a moon base you're on. And they go through that mission. But what I found interesting was that every single, they call it like the thinking man's action game because they say the difficulty stems from really learning the game and how it works and how the different demons not only act with each other on the battlefield, but how they affect you differently and how different weapons affect them. So I like that, how they explained how like even the plasma rifle, I think is what it's called, is really effective against guys with shields, which I think they said that was a thing in Doom 2016, but I had no idea because those guys always annoyed the crap out of me. I'd always just jump over them and try to shoot them in the back.
Yeah, that's what I did too.
But the plasma rifle is intended to just blow up their shields. And in Doom Eternal specifically, in the live stream they did, they hadn't updated, like I said, it wasn't the most recent build, but in the most recent build, they say if you shoot at the shield with the plasma rifle, it'll actually explode like a little mini bomb. And not only kill them, but it'll damage enemies in proximity to them.
Yeah.
So I love that. And they said you can use that tactically too. If there's like a group of enemies surrounding a shielded, whatever you call them, demon. Yeah. That can be very effective. They said like shooting the cannons off of the Mancubus is really effective because obviously they can't shoot you with it. So it's so cool. And I love how they added the gore effects and the damage effects to the demon because at one point he I think he shoots like a grenade launcher or something at the Mancubus cannon. And when the cannon explodes, it like blows all the skin off the Mancubus. So you see it's like its rib cage and its guts hanging out and stuff, but it's still coming at you. Yeah. But at that point, it can only, I think, like melee attack you or something. So it can't shoot you with its cannon. So they said you always want to tactically go for like the enemy's weak points with various weapons that are like, you can obviously kill anything with any gun in the game. Sure. They said it's always about like choosing like, well, what weapon would be good for this enemy or that enemy, or how can I weaken them to alleviate the situation I'm in currently.
Yeah, part of it's, killing as many enemies as you can as quickly as possible.
Exactly.
Which a lot of the challenges built into the levels are like, you have those little like portals that take you to another place that there's like a challenge you have to do.
Definitely.
In the first Doom.
Which I love. I mean, they've made it even more in depth, not only in terms of like the enemy variety and tackling them, but even the levels themselves like are more, what's the word I'm looking for? Not elevated, the specific word I'm looking for, it's not coming to mind. In terms of like the platforming of the game, in layman's terms, like there's a lot more to jump around on and off of. Like I used to like the boost pads and stuff you can fly across. And I think the meat hook itself like attaches onto things. Which is
tell me about
cool.
That meat hook. Any cool new gameplay with it? Or
I didn't get to watch all. I think it was like a 20-minute stream. I only got to see like the first 12 minutes or so. But I'm sure they go into more of that. But even the ways you can upgrade weapons is awesome.
Is it just like a melee weapon, or is it just specifically like a thing to maneuver around the map with?
I'm sure there's far more to it than what we've seen, because every weapon, even in Doom 2016, could be upgraded in multiple ways. So I assume the meat hook, one, we've seen it for traversal. You can like hook onto things and swing around, which is cool. You can use it to attach to enemies and bring them to you or you to them. So I'm sure there's a variety of tools with that, which is so cool. But they say, they want to reward aggression in the game, because if you're severely damaged, instead of just running from the fight, they say you're way better off to finish an enemy and glory kill them to get that bit of health back.
Yeah.
So they said that it's truly intended to be a power fantasy where you feel incredibly powerful and just really badass the entire time. And of course, that also helps when you have Mick Gordon's soundtrack behind you, driving you forward.
If you get the collector's edition and you wear that helmet, that's got to help too.
Oh, absolutely. While you play the game, I'm sure is very effective.
Yeah, you got to feel
sure
like
your vision isn't even remotely impaired. So I don't think I'm going to pre-order the collector's edition if it's even still available, but I am beyond stoked for that. So as far as just shooters go, my top two, of course, are Call of Duty and Doom this year.
I know you're a big Doom guy.
But yeah, I'm so excited. I can't wait to see more from Quakecon, of course. So that was what stuck out to me at least so far this week. What's today? Monday?
Yes, Monday the 29th.
Okay, presuming today was the first day of Quakecon. Remember, I could be totally wrong about this. I should have done my research. I apologize.
I can look it up right now.
Okay, because if there's more to come, I'd like to see a stream of the actual multiplayer mode too, because while I am sort of disappointed they don't have straight-on PvP, because I'm one of the few people, Preston and I both really enjoyed the PvP in Doom. I mean, we recognize it isn't like groundbreaking competitive multiplayer by any means, but we really liked it a lot. But I think the multiplayer mode they've pitched is cool, where it's the one Doomslayer versus 2 player-controlled demons. I'm sure that's going to be fun. So I want to see more for that, for sure.
So QuakeCon happened last weekend.
Last weekend.
The 25th.
So I guess what I saw was from a day or two ago.
28th. So Sunday.
Okay, that makes sense.
It is today, actually, the 29th.
Oh, perfect. All right. So what I saw today was indeed from this week. That's good.
That's good.
Well, cool. I don't think I have anything else to share from this week, Jacob, unless something stuck out to you that I'm completely overlooking.
Not that I can think of, unless you saw something crazy out in Cali.
Not that I can recall.
I think I touched on all the big things that happened to me this week. I mean, if it's all right with you, we can jump right into some community questions.
Let's do that, Jacob.
Yeah.
And we got some good ones today. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your continued support of the It's Obvious podcast by writing in and week out with your community questions that fuel the latter half of our conversation. It's always exciting, unpredictable, and we are bound to have some solid conversations tonight. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, we're going to call in Zach for our finale question from Mr. Darth Citrus himself. That's Star Wars related. I think many of you will have a good time reflecting on his questions he pitches as well. So with all that out of the way, if you guys want your questions read live on the show, you can reach us in one of 3 places. You can email us at ItsObviousGaming@gmail.com. You can tweet at us at obvious_gaming, or submit your questions in the Ask IOG section of our Discord channel. And all that information can be found in the links below on any YouTube video and or any podcasting service. Wherever the information for each respective episode is found, all those links should be there. And of course, always include the hashtag AskIOG so we know that you want your questions read live. All that out of the way, Jacob. The first one comes from Josh Scriber himself. Josh says, "Hey guys, hope you've had an unproductive week full of traveling and gaming for a change. What do you guys think that Gears of War 5 needs to achieve in its campaign to bring back fans who've left after Gears 4? Being merely a spectator of the franchise instead of an avid player, I think Coalition needs to take a closer look at Gears 2. The bonds forged in that game sucked me in." I really emphasize suck there, forgive me, Josh. I'm used to using that word in a different context.
Yeah, you like to suck.
With Jacob.
Yeah.
Almost to the point of buying a shitbox just to play it myself. Hashtag AskIOG. Hashtag the Switch reign has begun. I was unaware that the Switch reign has begun.
Oh, it's here, baby.
And I've never quite called the footstool a shitbox myself. I certainly don't feel that way, but it is definitely one of the cozier footstools I've ever encountered in my life. That of which I've been spending a lot of time with the last couple of weeks.
A footstool is a footstool, Garrett.
End of story. Gears 5. I feel like Preston
he's
and I have
specifically
talked
talking about the campaign, right?
Yes. So
this is a question for you.
This is not a good thing. Preston and I can't hardly remember, can hardly remember anything from Gears 4's campaign. I remember the very beginning and it boring me to death. And then I remember the very end that I was like, okay. So actually, I take that back. I remember like 3 or 4 moments, spoiler alert for Gears 4, if you even care at all. I remember the part where Marcus Phoenix gets kidnapped by one of the Locust. That's already a problem. I can't even remember what they're called. The Swarm, excuse me. Basically the Locust. Kidnap Marcus and like cocoon him, and you have to go rescue him. I remember that moment. I remember running into Baird and Coltrane at the end. I remember getting in like a giant mech at one point and destroying things, and at the end you fight like a big dumb boss, and you find out that the girl from the game, Kat, I think is her name or something, is like the daughter of the queen or like a descendant of the Locust Queen or something. I can't remember.
Interesting.
But yeah, the campaign again to me is fine. I'm not nearly as passionate about Gears as I am Halo, where like I said a million times, that I consider anything beyond Halo 3 in terms of lore as total fan fiction. So in terms of Gears, I can live with whatever story they want to tell, but gameplay was fine, I guess. I mean, the reason why I'm totally disengaged from that franchise for now, even though I really enjoyed the tech test for Gears 5, is the campaign just did not draw me in whatsoever. And a lot of that's a testament to the characters. I mean, even JD Phoenix, which is Marcus's son, isn't that interesting to me. His friends are fine, I guess. And it looks like they're shifting their focus to, I don't even remember what her name is. I think it's Kat. I think she's the lead now, which is fine. I don't have any problem with that, but I didn't really care about any of those characters to begin with. So going into Gears 5, unless something changes for me playing through it again with Preston, which we've talked about prior to Gears 5, I don't think I'm going to care that much about what happens to any of them. Of course, I'd care about what happens to Marcus Phoenix, Baird, and Coltrane, which one of them is definitely dying in Gears 5. I have no doubt about it. I don't know which one it'll be, if not all of them. I don't know if they're going to pull a Disney Star Wars trilogy where they kill off all their main characters before the trilogy ends. I don't know. But what I would like to see, because that's the thing about Gears 2 is that at the end of the day, it's the character moments that really sucked me in on top of the set pieces that just were mind blowing from Gears 2. And I always remember beyond all of them, the giant worm sequence where you get swallowed by a giant worm and fight throughout the belly of this worm. And then you chainsaw your way out of it after you kill it at the end. It's just insane.
That sounds insane.
Yeah. I remember, I can't remember what they call, like, it's like a mammoth from Halo, but it's like those giant mech 4-wheeler vehicles on this mountainside where you meet that guy with the cowboy hat. And have this epic fight on a mountainside. Man, I can't remember. I think there's a motorcycle sequence from Gears 4 that's pretty cool now that I think about it. That wasn't too bad. But set pieces like that are pretty cool for Gears. And of course, just, I don't know if it's the chemistry or the writing. I don't know what it is from Gears 4 that just really did not impress me. But like Josh says, it comes down to, I guess, the way they tell that story and the characters. Because Gears 2, I've always thought Gears 2 is by far the best campaign experience from the franchise. So, like he said, whatever they can pull from Gears 2 as far as storytelling, that'd be probably the best thing they could do. So I don't have the answers, but I relate to you, Josh, when you think that Gears 2 is probably the best place to look if they want inspiration for how they could tell a better story.
I think this is from me. I played Gears before, but never really like, the only Gears I played is Judgment. So take that as you will. But I think what this franchise needs is something similar to what happened with the new God of War. I think it just needs like a new imagining of what Gears is, and how can they create some new excitement, because it just seems like they pretty much just continued on doing the same things, expecting well, of course, longtime fans are always going to love Gears, and they love it the way it is, but in order for it to really shine and be one of these huge games that, I'm sure a lot of people want it to be, it really needs to do something just, game changing. And I don't really see that with Gears 5 or the franchise at all. But that's just me.
I had something on the tip of my tongue there. What was it? Yeah, I think the most positive experience I've had with Gears 5 was just, like I said, the arcade mode from the tech test, which, contrasting my opinion, interestingly, this guy Faven is a YouTuber. I think maybe a couple people from our community know who he is, at least. I think he mostly covers Halo, which I actually really like his Halo coverage because he's very knowledgeable about the gameplay. It's not really about the lore, it's more so about multiplayer, and I think he does a really good job covering how that series has evolved and going into Halo Infinite and whatnot. But he did a Gears 5 video called I'm Worried About Gears 5, which I clicked on that because, one, I am also a little worried about Gears 5. So I'm interested to see what he says. But again, he was talking mostly about multiplayer. And he was annoyed that arcade mode did not feature the shotgun predominantly. And he was arguing that the cover system, which I understand his point for like really hardcore Gears multiplayer fans, but it's like Preston have said, it's always been a shotgun fest. And he was arguing that, the cover system is meant to be more of like a movement system rather than an actual cover system because the game's meta has just become that. And he's like, you can no longer like in this mode, like bounce off of walls and like shotgun people and blah, 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 which you can do if you get your hands on a shotgun, but it's a power weapon now. So you have to unlock it, which I have always preferred.
Yeah.
That's why I love that mode, because I'm one of the few people, including Preston, that wanted to take cover and use Lancers for once.
Yeah. See, this is cool though, because you're both coming from different angles of this. Like he's obviously, he's played Gears multiplayer. He likes how it was, but you're coming from another angle, saying like you wish there weren't so many shotguns, and you like the cover-based shooting system. So it's just, that's just, I don't know if he's like a competitive like esports player. I doubt it. He's probably just a YouTuber, but it's like who's right in this situation? I don't know.
Well, I understand where he's coming from, because his main argument was, which I don't see why he cares. He's like, well, if new players come in, and he's like, he thinks that the majority of the player base is going to cater to arcade mode versus the classic modes, which include Execution, Warzone. I think there's a couple in there. The main two are like Execution and Warzone. And originally the only multiplayer, or the main multiplayer mode of Gears 1 was Execution, where once you're dead, you're dead. Like it's like 4-on-4.
Yeah.
And last man standing obviously wins the match, or last men standing. So he thinks that people going into Gears 5, which I don't think, unless aside from just like the main Gears fans, I can't imagine too many new people wanting to jump into Gears 5 out of nowhere, because the marketing's just been truly awful for the game.
Yeah.
So he fears that new players are going to cater to arcade and then never want to play like the main modes, or if they go into the main modes, they're going to be shocked at how much more hardcore and intense it is compared to arcade mode.
So tell me, what's the difference between arcade and the regular mode?
So regular mode is you start with the main arsenal, which is the Lancer, the snub pistol, the Nashor shotgun, and like a smoke grenade. I think that's the three main weapons you start with.
Okay.
So you have a shotgun at all times, and mostly everyone just runs around like madmen with shotguns and just shotguns each other, which is what the multiplayer became. And that's why I just kind of drifted away from it, because after 4 games of that, I just grew really tired of it for obvious reasons. It was just monotonous to me. So, his argument was that too many people are just going to like lean into arcade, and that's going to be like the new like main mode of the game, which is fine by me, because I had so much fun playing it, and I got to use snipers whenever I wanted, bolt-tog pistols whenever I wanted, the Lancer, the shotgun when I wanted, and even like the abundance of random weapons I can spawn when you just choose random weapon instead of what are the main 3 that you can call in.
Yeah.
So I love that a lot, and it completely changed the way both teams were playing each other. Mm-hmm. And like I said, Preston and I loved it. So that alone has me relatively excited for at least the multiplayer aspect of Gears 5. But yeah, all I have to say about campaign, Josh, is just I agree with you. Gears 2 is probably the best campaign by far. And I can only hope that Gears 5's campaign completely changes my perspective on these new characters and the story they're trying to tell, because I never don't want to be invested in any story I experience, whether it be a movie or a TV show, and especially games. Like I want to be completely engrossed by the characters and the story they're telling.
Yeah.
So I hope it's great, but Gears 4 is not even remotely my favorite campaign. So I'm hoping it changes with Gears 5.
Yeah. Good characters are really important for any narrative, obviously, but they're definitely not everything,
Yeah, and people have made even just like a small example. It's like characters really can like drive a story, and Stranger Things thrives off its characters, and like the story they tell, when you really break it down, like season 3 isn't like a groundbreaking story by any means, but it's the characters that really make it what it is.
Yeah. I mean, overall season 3 is like its whole plot, like I'm not going to spoil it, but like it's very contained. Like it seems like it happens very quick,
Right. It's character interactions too, like Gears 2 and even 3 are notable for like their character interactions and the conversations they have, even outside of like cutscenes and set piece moments, just like while you're walking around in different areas. And because I can't even really tell you like the actual plot really of any of the Gears games.
Yeah,
like,
see, that's
this is
problem.
Exactly what's happening, but I remember like character moments, and like why I like those games is because of the characters and what they do. So, and what they say. So,
maybe one could argue
why,
like that's not why you play Gears though.
Yeah, and that's probably why I feel disengaged from 4, because I can't remember what anyone says or does in hardly in Gears 4. But I won't ramble too much about Gears. I apologize for spending a whole lot of time on that question. But Josh,
that was a fun talk.
Appreciate it, man. Next one comes from Table Salt 109. Table Salt says, "Love the podcast. What is the easiest and hardest game to platinum ever?" I'm going to assume this is from our experience.
Platinum.
Easiest and hardest.
I don't even know what I've platinumed. I know I can just speak to one trophy in particular on Battlefield 1. There was this one trophy where you had to get to the end of the mission, and I don't know if there was a checkpoint before this or not. There might have been. But you had to like So you were in this gunner seat of a like an old World War II style or World War I style plane, I guess it would be. Or it might have been a blimp actually, but you had to use the gunner to like shoot all the planes down. Like you couldn't miss any of them. And they were flying all over the screen, Garrett. And if you missed one, you didn't get the trophy. Like it was the most annoying thing. And like these planes were quick too. Like you had to like memorize where they were flying in or where they were going to be at any particular time. Because if you missed one, you got to, restart the challenge or restart the mission, whatever it was. But that one was very monotonous, but I eventually got it. But I'm really not sure what my hardest platinum is. I know my easiest was definitely like, it was either Horizon, God of War, or what else? I had several. Like I mostly have easy ones because I didn't really have to think about them, and I just had to play the game a ton. I know Preston would be able to go on and on about hard trophies that I'm sure he's gotten, but yeah, I don't really know. I've never been too much of the trophy guy. That's never been my thing.
Yeah. I know one of Preston's hardest. It may have changed for him because I haven't talked to him about trophies in a while. I think Preston's kind of let the trophy thing go as well ever since we moved on to PC.
Are you going to say Bloodborne?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thought so.
I heard that was just incredibly brutal.
I tried to get that one, but then I saw that like once you beat the game, you have to go do these like, I think they were called chalice dungeons. And they like took all the hard enemies in the game, then they like put like an interesting twist on them and put you in like instance zones to fight these enemies or like go through these zones. And just hearing like the horror stories of him trying to do those. Like there was this one time where I was in party chat with him while I was still playing through the main campaign of the game, and he was in one of these dungeons. Dude, he was so pissed, man. I just remember how mad he was that night.
Dude, I remember that. I was in a party with you guys. That's when we lived in the apartment, wasn't it?
I don't think so. I thought that game came out after we moved out.
I can't remember.
I think it did.
I just remember being in that party, and I do remember Preston's screams and like hearing his mood change from super pissed to almost depressed because how difficult it was.
Yeah.
But I remember his reaction also when he finally beat it.
Oh yeah, he's thrilled.
Yeah.
As you should be for conquering a game like that. But yeah.
I know like difficulty in achieving platinums can also be boiled down to how time consuming they are. And I know another big one for Preston was probably Persona 5.
Yeah.
Because I heard that just took forever to unlock.
Yeah, see, I didn't get that one because I didn't want to play that game on hard, which you had to. And then also you have to spend all the time. I think you have to get like every single persona in the game, which is like, for those that haven't played Persona, it's like the equivalent of like catching all the Pokemon or something. Like you have to spend so much time and you have to like mix them together and fuse them to create new ones. Like I don't have the patience for that. Are you kidding me? I just want to get the story, hang out with the characters. What the simpleton would do.
I understand that. Easiest
you got
for me.
Do you have any hard ones?
Easiest that comes to mind was probably Spyro the Dragon from the trilogy that was released, remastered trilogy.
Ratchet and Clank?
Ratchet and Clank, I wouldn't even say is the easiest because that was pretty time consuming too. Not like ridiculously time consuming. Like I've always said, whenever I platinum a game, it's only because I really, really love the game and it isn't totally out of reach. And Ratchet and Clank's a prime example of that because that game is just pure fun to me. Like I never was for a second bored with Ratchet and Clank. So of course I platinumed that. Spyro was probably the easiest because all you do is just play through the game and just collect everything. That's all you have to do. So that was really easy. I think Far Cry 4 was pretty easy. Similar, just collect everything and complete all the objectives.
Dude, let me tell you something about Insomniac, Garrett. They need to stop. I assume they're working on Spider-Man, the second game, a sequel to the one that came out last year, right? It came out last year, right? Or was it the year before?
It was last year.
Yeah, okay, it was last year.
We're coming up on the 1 year anniversary in September.
Okay, I assume they're making that sequel right now, or they're
at
the very least in pre-production. Whatever.
Definitely.
I think they just need to stop production completely. Let's go back to the basics. Let's go back to Ratchet and Clank. Let's put Ratchet and Clank Going Commando on the PS4 right now. Forget Spider-Man, Garrett. How do you feel about this?
Well, I don't agree because Spider-Man is easily one of my favorite games ever made.
Okay.
And they absolutely knocked it completely out of the park. So I'd say they knocked it out of this world, Jacob. That's from one man, but that's how I feel.
I only jest. I agree.
I know you're jesting, but I do want another remaster from Insomniac specifically. I think that'd be awesome if we got Going Commando.
I'm telling you, Going Commando is so good.
I mean, at this point, Insomniac has to be big enough to have like a B team of sorts. And I don't mean that in a whenever I say B team and A team of development studios, I don't mean that in like a disrespectful way. I mean it just in terms of getting things done.
Yeah.
Like B teams, like you're selected to remaster, for example, this next Ratchet and Clank game while this other team works on the next Spider-Man. And I'm sure once they wrap, let's say their B project, everyone jumps over to like the mainline game they're working on. I'd like to think that's the case. I don't know if that's what they're doing, but I think the Ratchet and Clank remake was so successful and so well received that it'd be crazy not to follow it up with the sequel. That from you say it's even better than the first one.
Oh yeah, it is. Trust me.
So, yeah, that's easily one of my favorite platinums by far. That and Spider-Man, if I'm being honest. I was never once bored with Spider-Man either. So both Insomniac games are just not only pure fun, but just really easy and attainable platinums.
Yeah, you got the Doom one too, right? Going back to Doom.
Did I?
I thought you did.
I'm pretty sure I did. Let me double check. Because I have my PlayStation app pulled up, but none of it's organized. I'm trying to siphon through it. I wish you could just click on your trophies and see what you have for each. I do have the platinum for Doom. I never got the DLC, but or any of the expansions, but I did platinum that. I forgot about that. So, and I will undoubtedly, whatever the PC equivalent is of platinuming a game or 100%ing a game, I will do that for Eternal, undoubtedly.
Usually for me, like going back to trophies, like a difficult platinum usually consists of like a difficulty trophy or doing challenges that are kind of tough. I usually try to stray away from those, but like the platinums that I do have are mostly like, go collect all of these things, go do all of these activities, go do all of this. Like those are the ones that I have the most of. And I'm sure you're kind of the same way. Yeah. Just hearing some of yours.
I'm trying to think, me personally, what was the hardest thing I platinumed?
Yeah, that's my problem. Like I haven't looked at my platinums in so long. I don't even know what I've got a platinum in.
I think Horizon took me a while, but it wasn't hard.
Oh yeah, that was.
I'm looking
really
through this
easy.
list one more time, make sure I'm not forgetting anything.
Are you looking at your app?
Oh, easiest. I'm an idiot. The easiest one I ever got was Telltale's Batman, the first chapter or whatever it was. And that was the easiest platinum ever because you literally just play the game. I'm glad I spotted that. Fallout 4 I platinumed. That was also just time consuming, but it was fun.
Dude, I can't pull up my trophies. Okay.
Oh, I know another one Preston got. Platinuming Witcher 3 said was just grueling. This is how long it took. He said he's never had to play so much Gwent in his life, which is exactly why I did not pursue the platinum. Gotcha. I always hated having to play Gwent in that game.
Dude, I'm going to read off my platinums for you, okay? Are you ready? Okay, so the last one I got was God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, Skyrim, Final Fantasy 15. That one was kind of annoying because I had to fight that big turtle thing, which took forever, as we've discussed. Battlefield 1. I almost got the one in Destiny 1, but I didn't do a raid without dying. Lego Star Wars The Force Awakens.
I remember that, man. You and I did a couple Let's Plays for that.
That game sucked. Ratchet and Clank, Uncharted 4, A Thief's End. Tom Clancy's The Division. I forgot I had that one. Fallout 4, that one was easy. And The Order 1886, my first platinum. So I don't have any hard ones, I guess. All mine are pretty easy, if I remember correctly.
Nice. You already see The Order?
Yeah, that was my first one.
Nice. Yeah, I think that was one of the first I platinumed too. That was pretty easy. Did you see that Ready at Dawn is in a new studio now? I was on Twitter today.
I did not know.
Yeah, it's like
I know they just released
really
like
nice
that
studio.
new. Didn't they just release a VR game?
I think so.
I forgot.
I've not kept up with anything since. Was that GameStop exclusive or published game they did called like
Subnautica?
No, it was like the little.
I don't even know how to
describe it.
I thought that was
a game that was published by GameStop that like maybe like 100 people bought. I'm not sure.
I thought that was Insomniac.
No. It was Ready at Dawn. It was after Order 1886, and I remember our reactions initially were like, "What the f?"
Wasn't it called something like Down Below or? I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
it's that submarine game.
No, it was not Subnautica. It was something else.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna look it up because it's annoying me now. Ready at Dawn, GameStop. Deformers. That's what it was called.
It's called Deformers?
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't even know how to describe what it was. It's just very different from the Order. But yeah, they're in a brand new studio. And I think Colin Moriarty actually tweeted about this, made a good point, like who's funding them and why have they moved into such a renowned studio when they haven't really done anything notable since the Order 1886, which in and of itself was not entirely received all that well.
Yeah.
But we've all held out hope that an Order sequel will at some point come to fruition.
It's never going to happen.
Maybe. I mean, I think you could take what they established with the Order in terms of lore and even gameplay, as basic as it is, and really turn that into something unique. Again, I have no idea what that could be because I could never come up with it myself. But you can see the potential there, and that's why we always believed in what they did with that game.
Sure. And
even the world alone really, really interested me, so I want to see more from it still.
I completely agree. I really enjoy that, like, Victorian, you know. Were there vampires in the game, or was it just like wolves?
I think vampires were in the game. It was predominantly lycans, you know, like the werewolves.
Yeah.
But I think vampires existed as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But
I don't feel like we have enough of that stuff, especially lately.
I personally can never get enough of it because Victorian London is like one of my favorite eras ever, and that's why I loved Vampire from. It was published by Focusrite. It was Life is Strange developers. What are they called? Why can't I remember?
I don't know. They don't interest me, that studio.
Dev. Some people say it's Vampire. It's Don't Nod. That's who it was.
Oh, Don't Nod, yes.
Because I really enjoyed that. I like the show Penny Dreadful is cool. And of course, the Order 1886 was very similar in that sense. So I love the setting. I need more of it personally.
I'm with you, man. I'm just saying don't count on it.
Yeah. Reminds me of Woody from Toy Story where he shakes the 8-ball.
Yeah.
He's like, don't count on it. And he throws it.
So shout out to Justin. He's the guy that picked me up and helped me finish my route today. But he showed me this video
of the show.
Yeah, friend of the show.
Nice.
So he told me today, and I watched this video. There's a mod in Sekiro that you can put in that makes
Woody
Sekiro.
The character, right?
Yes, Woody. Thank you.
That's incredible.
And it is the fucking goofiest thing I've ever seen. He has that stupid smile on his face.
I did see that clip on it was like Twitter or something someone had shared.
Shout out to Woody. I didn't see Toy Story 4 though.
Yeah. Shout out to Tom Hanks. This is hilarious. First of all, I'll talk about this in a second. Preston and I went to see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood the other day.
Oh, I wanted to see that.
Yeah. Oh, I should have told you. Well, we went in the middle of the day at a matinee.
Oh,
so probably couldn't have worked. But we saw that, which I'll talk about. But it was the funniest thing. We saw the trailer for the Mr. Rogers movie. I think it's called Won't You Be My Neighbor?
Yeah.
And the trailer plays. I think it looks really good. And the trailer ends. And it's just like that moment of silence before the next trailer comes on. And some lady behind us is like, I don't want Tom Hanks playing that good man. Preston thought that was so funny. I don't know why she said that.
What's Tom Hanks done?
I've heard rumors that he's like a total douche or something. I don't know if they're true. I think they might just be like a joke that spawned on the internet because he's so wholesome that people are like, he's actually really evil.
Yeah.
I don't know. But that was so funny. It reminds me of when I went to see Avatar way back in the day. It was like obviously 2009. Man, a decade ago. I can't believe, because this is one of the hardest I've ever laughed in my entire life. My sister and I went to see Avatar. It was like the 5th time I'd seen it. And I'm like, no wonder that movie made so much money. Why did I see it so many times?
Yeah, I saw it like 3 times.
I think it's just because it was so visually breathtaking at the time. I was like, I've got to see that again.
It was mind blowing how pretty it was.
Yeah. Which congrats to the MCU and Avengers officially overcoming Avatar at the box office. Is pretty cool.
Making that big bucks.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I remember we saw that movie again, and there's that sequence at the end was the big battles happening, and it's like crazy actions, loud, obnoxious, and all of a sudden it cuts to silence when I think Jake, whatever his name is in the movie, is like shell shocked. He's looking around the forest of Pandora, and like things are engulfed in flames.
Yeah.
You remember this story?
I think I know where you're going. Yeah.
Okay. And one of like the horse creatures that they all ride is running through the forest engulfed in flames. It's horrifying. And it's dead silent in the scene in the movie. All you see is just the visuals.
Yeah.
And I hear this really, really old lady, like 2 seats over from me, just go under her breath. She's like, oh no, the moose is on fire. Just something about her saying it in a southern accent that quietly, but calling it a moose.
Oh no.
Oh no, The moose is on fire. Just thinking about it, I have never uncontrollably laughed so hard in my entire life, and people are looking at me and stuff, and I tried to contain it, dude, but it's one of those laughs where you just can't stop. Just something about that moment was so funny. Her calling this alien, doesn't even remotely look like a moose. Calling this alien horse a moose was so funny.
Yeah. I've actually always been a defender of Avatar. Like, I've always enjoyed the movie. I just think it's like a meme at this point because of how long it's taken for what's his face, Peter Jackson, to make another one. It's
you
just
mean
funny.
James Cameron?
Sorry, yes, James Cameron. Did I say Peter Jackson?
Yeah, I mean similar. They both make big budget fantasy movies. Well, not James Cameron so much. He just makes movies that make a lot of money.
Yeah, I just think Avatar is like, it's a good time. It really is. And I like that kind of idea of a world. And I hope, these movies do eventually come out. And I'm wondering, like, are they going to be just a disappointment because of how hyped the first one was? How much of a big deal
who
it was?
wins no matter what happens is Zoe Saldana, because she's in Avatar and Avengers, the two highest grossest movies ever. She probably couldn't care less compared to everyone else involved.
She's a really good alien.
Yeah, she's famous for being blue and green. So that's really funny to think about. But I get the feeling that, I don't think it'll ever match the original in terms of box office. I think it's probably impossible, but I do think there will be very genuine interest. Not I wouldn't even call it hype, but just interest in the Avatar sequels, because people are going to wait to see how technology, at least in terms of how James Cameron uses it, has advanced in the last decade, which even going back to look at it now still looks very impressive. So how has it advanced since then, and can they tell a better story? Because I know they're using, if I'm not mistaken, the exact same cast from the original.
That's surprising with how much time has passed.
I know. So, I mean, I know James Cameron, I think he has 5 planned, 4 at the very least.
That's ridiculous.
So my goodness, man, like I've always liked his work. Like Terminator 2, awesome. I think he also did Aliens.
Why do you think
the best sequels of all time?
Why do you think it's taken so long? Like, do you know anything about like why the second one isn't out yet? Like,
I think it all comes down to James Cameron being a total perfectionist and wanting to make sure that the technology is there to do whatever he's trying to accomplish.
Okay.
I mean, I read a rumor probably 5 or 6 years ago. I mean, these sequels have been talked about for a long time.
Oh yeah.
Where I think
almost like a decade, it feels like.
I think like the oceans of Pandora were, I don't know if it's still the case, where originally the idea for the follow-up to the first movie was going to be all about like underwater life on Pandora. Yeah. So that could be a reason why it's taken so long. I don't know, because obviously the majority of the movie is all post-production.
Yeah, and it's like, do you go the human route? Like, are they invading again? Like, have they come back? Or
I'd like to think it's like an interplanetary conflict this time.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping for.
Yeah, I think it'd be more interesting.
It's like we've left behind the humans. They're gone.
Yeah, and you got to wonder, will they play into the story like 10 years have actually passed on Pandora since the first one ended? I think that'd be most interesting to see how they've all changed as characters or just living in that world for so long.
Yeah, I agree.
So, if only they can capture the same imagination that was presented in the first one, because even like the first time I saw it, I was like totally engrossed by the setting and like the world they had built. It's
like that same feeling you get when you play like a new game you're really into, and it's like a huge, like just breathtaking world, and you just want to be encapsulated by it.
Yeah, and I would hope that that's another big part of the sequel, is just being totally enveloped by that world again. It'd be awesome, because the 3D, I know 3D is still to this day like a total gimmick, I feel like, in movies, but 3D was a really big part of that first one. And it wasn't, I don't even think it was the fad of 3D at the time. I just think they implemented it so well that it made that movie, like, it felt like you were in that world when you saw it.
Yeah. Did you ever have the pleasure of watching it on 3D at Evan's projector?
I did not. I remember you guys talking about it though.
Dude, it's nice.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I always forget that he has that projector, and I'm like, that is such a cool thing to have.
Yeah.
Playing any game on that gigantic wall in his basement.
Mm-hmm.
But we've rambled about Avatar for quite a while now. Let me talk about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood for a moment.
Okay.
So I'm, like most people, like pretty big Quentin Tarantino fan. He's not like by any means my favorite director or anything, but I've always loved his movies for the most part. Probably my top 3 are Inglourious Bastards, Django, and I really like Hateful Eight a lot. I haven't seen all of Jackie Brown. I've only seen the first half of it. Of course, Pulp Fiction is a huge one for me.
Oh yeah. I've heard this is one of his not one of his better films.
It's definitely one of his weaker, but I wouldn't even call it a bad movie by any means. And, there's definitely mixed opinions across the board from what I've seen in terms of reviews. No, I am by no means. I have no desire to necessarily work in the film industry per se. I just love general video production and shooting video and editing it and turning it into some sort of presentable project, whether it's video game related or documentary based or even like an event of sorts is kind of where I prefer to do video projects. So film, even though I don't really want to be a part of it, has always fascinated me since I was a kid. Yeah. And especially like the process behind it and how a film is made and like the industry itself is still something I very much keep up with. And I've always been aware of what they call the glory days of Hollywood, like in the 60s and 70s and whatnot. But the way he presents it in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is just very, very interesting and kind of like, in a way, like beautiful to behold and fascinating in a lot of ways, and just how it was back then. Yeah. So getting to see like him presenting Hollywood back in its glory days, through the characters and through Los Angeles was just really, really cool to see. For sure. And the cast is phenomenal. Oh yeah. Yeah. I will say, especially, I mean, DiCaprio and Brad Pitt, I mean, to no one's surprise, are both excellent in the movie, but Brad Pitt especially is just incredible. Yeah. He was by far my favorite part of the movie. But what's interesting is that, and this is a very, very easy movie to spoil, and I wouldn't even say there's that many spoilers, but it's like part of what the movie is all, you just have to see it for yourself to kind of get it. Yeah. But one could see this movie and argue like, well, what even happened? Like, what was the point of this? Like you could see it and wonder that. But the more I've reflected on it, the more I kind of see what he was going for. The more spoiler reviews I listen to, people kind of explain it a bit more. And of course, it's still open to interpretation. But something about DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, even Margot Robbie to an extent, I feel like she has the least amount to do in the movie. But all three of them and their different stories and their characters and how they interact and go about their journey through the movie is just really fun to watch. Especially the third act is just absolutely mind-blowing. Like a lot of people have said this, but it's worth the price of a movie ticket alone just to see the last 20 minutes of the movie. Oh, wow. But I enjoyed it from start to finish. It's something about the way Tarantino, I know he's not like his own DP, but how he and his DP work to really like draw you into whatever story he's telling. Yeah. I don't know why, but whenever I'm watching a Tarantino movie, and it's like this for some other directors too, but especially Tarantino, there's just something about the way he moves the camera and the way his dialogue works that it's just, I am totally, completely invested in the movie from start to finish. Like I never once stopped to like think about like, oh, I have to go to work later. All right, what am I going to eat for dinner? Mm-hmm. Like the movie starts and then like I was gone. Like I was in it from beginning to end. And then when the movie ends, you're like, oh, wow, we're in a movie theater. Yep. So it was very engaging in that sense. And there's also this like underlying like layer of tension, I feel like that's there from the beginning all the way through the end. And you're just waiting for something insane to happen. And something insane does happen, but you don't know when it's going to happen or who it's going to happen to. You just feel like something's a little off the entire time. Yeah. In a good way. So I was sort of on the edge of my seat in that sense. And as always, Tarantino's dialogue is just so good. It's so entertaining. So there are definitely great scenes like that as well. If you're a Tarantino fan, if you love, like his great dialogue, his crazy characters, and of course, bouts of just unbelievable violence, then you'll be satisfied with the movie. I don't want to say too much more because like I said, there's a lot to spoil, but Preston and I walked out of it pretty satisfied, and it's by no means one of my favorites, but I still really, really liked it a lot, and definitely gave me a whole new perspective on classic Hollywood and stuff like that. So I need to find someone to see it with. I would go see it again. I actually do want to see it again. If there's a day we can work it out, I will happily go with you. Okay. We'll talk about it. Yeah, just let me know if there's any day you want to meet at like North Point or something, or even Collection. I'd meet you there. Yeah. Thanks for the tangent. Yeah, of course. Jacob, let's next jump into the next one from Ace of Spades, who we left hanging last week. Spades. Are we going to answer all these, by the way? Yeah, we've been going for a while, so I may cut one or two. Actually, let me call Zach. He's been waiting to hear from us for a while.
Yeah, maybe we could just save all these other ones for maybe next week.
Yeah, we've been going on so many tangents.
Sorry, Ace of Spades.
I'm sorry, man. And actually, all of you wrote in with really, really awesome ones this week, but we will get to them. You have my word.
If we got to start building a backlog at some point, you know?
Yeah. Honestly, we have so many here. You and I could probably do an Ask IOG this week if you want to.
Out of just these that we have here?
These, not even just the ones in red, but all the other ones that I did not highlight for this episode. Because that alone is enough to fuel, I think, an Ask IOG episode, but I think it would help if we had a few more.
Yeah.
So for those of you that have been holding out on a new Ask IOG, it's a great excuse to throw us any and all questions you can now, because I have the time this week, and I think, Jacob, you and I could make it work if we had a few more.
You hear that, guys? Flood our Discord, social media, or email inboxes with questions.
Yeah. Ask IOG will happen to make up for all these questions we have to cut because of our stupid tangents about gears and and Avatar.
It's like that meme or the gif of the guy. It's like, it's happening. It's happening.
Yeah. That Office gif where Michael Scott's freaking out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have enough here to do an Ask IOG. And when I say enough, it'd be a shorter episode. But if you want a longer one that will get you to and from work without running out of time on the podcast, send us a few more if you're willing. We'll get to them this week. But the last one we're going to end is from Darth Citrus. It's all Star Wars related. This is going to be a lot of fun. Let me call Zach. Hopefully he can still talk.
Okay.
Our tangents really threw off our timeline there.
That's fine.
Zachy B.
I may not be able to give this question justice, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what we're made of here, Jacob. I got a good feeling about it. Zach's going to have some gold nuggets, man. He's had a lot of time to think about this.
Yeah, I know you two are going to knock it out of the park.
Oh, brother. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm so glad I changed your ringtone on my phone. It fits perfectly for this occasion.
And so does remind the audience here what the ringtone is. I don't know if they know.
You were right about one thing, Master. The negotiations were short.
Yeah, cheeky little bugger, ain't he?
So yeah, that and it startled me the first time I changed it because I haven't made a ringtone since like the 8th grade. And then when my phone went off the other day, I like flipped.
Yeah, I used to have the Power Rangers jingle from their morphers as my text tone, and without fail, every single time someone would be like, "Is that Kim Possible?" I'm like, no.
Hey Garrett, tell Zach I said hi.
For Kim Possible.
Yeah, they did. What'd you say, Jacob?
Tell Zachary I said hi.
Hey, Jacob says hello, Zach.
Tell him I said hello. I wish I could hear his voice.
Yeah, he can hear you, but you can't hear him. So anything you say to him, he can't even really respond to unless I reiterate it. So feel free to just unload if you have to.
You son of a bitch.
But Zach, I apologize. You are on episode 209 of the It's Obvious podcast here. And sorry for taking 8 years to get to you. Believe it or not, we went on a tangent about Avatar, the movie.
Nice. You mean The Last Airbender?
Oh, yeah, that one, dude. Yeah, it was totally unnecessary, but for whatever reason, Jacob and I got into talking about that for a while. So I apologize for the delay, but you were joining us for our finale community question, which you and I have talked about a bit here. All Star Wars related. So if you're ready to answer some questions that Darth Citrus has answered, I will reiterate the question for the audience, and we'll start with you. How's that sound?
Excellent. That sounds great.
Cool. Well, Darth Citrus does write in and says, after finally getting caught up on the episodes and hearing that Zach is also a big Star Wars fan, it made me think to provide you guys with a little questionnaire. I got this questionnaire from a Star Wars podcast I listened to, so credit goes to Jason and Jimmy from RFR. Starting with number 1, what is your favorite Star Wars line? I'm sure this is hard because there's like 1,000 that are good.
It is. This is actually extremely difficult, but I think I wouldn't call it my favorite, but it's the most meaningful to me. So I'll give a quick little backstory here. So I read the Revenge of the Sith book, and that's like probably one of like my favorite things I've ever read of Star Wars, just because it like focused in on Obi-Wan and Anakin's relationship like so much, so that by the time you got to the very end of Revenge of the Sith in the book, like it like tore you apart, their relationship. So just when Obi-Wan is looking at him and he was just like, Anakin, you were my brother, I loved you, that like in the movie, it's like, oh man, that's a big moment. But in the book, it's like so huge that it's like it carries a ton of emotional weight. So that's probably my favorite line.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one. It's funny, like Revenge of the Sith is, I wouldn't say my favorite Star Wars movie, but it's a big one for me, and it's like the majority of my favorite quotes do stem from that one.
Yeah, I'd say it's Obi-Wan and Anakin quotes from Revenge of the Sith, and then Little Annie quotes from Phantom Menace.
Oh, yeah. You and I were quoting that last night. Sandstorms are very, very dangerous.
Well, that actually segues into my least favorite line as the number 2 question from Darth Citrus here. So least favorite line. I'm just going to go ahead and pretend the whole entire script for Last Jedi doesn't exist real quick, because there's a lot of my least favorite lines in that movie.
Yeah.
And I'll just stick with the first 6. Yeah, I'd probably have to say when Little Annie says laser sword.
Yeah.
It's just like, I know that they say it again in Last Jedi, and it's just like, I don't know. I hate it a lot.
It's breaking the immersion for him.
I don't know. I get it that it's like, I get that's like the layman term in the galaxy for not calling it a lightsaber. It just sounds stupid to me.
Yeah.
They're not respecting the tool.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably my least favorite line. Here, I'll let you ask. I'll let you ask me number 3.
Okay. Before we move on, Jacob, what's your favorite Star Wars line?
Oh, mine's so dumb, but I love it so much because it's a meme. Do it.
Jacob says his favorite is "Do It" from Palpatine's act.
Do it.
Yeah, do it.
That's a good line. That's a great line.
I can name so many, but one that comes to mind just right now is when the Gungan king, whatever his name is like, Misa thinks we be friends. It's one of my favorites.
That's a great line.
You do it so well.
So that's one of my favorites. Jacob, what's one of your least favorites?
Anything that Jar Jar says.
Anything that Jar Jar says. Those are one of my favorite, man.
I hate him. Are you kidding me?
Dude, hate. I get the hate, but it's so much hate. You got to love him at the end of the day.
I don't agree. I mean, I think he's charming in a sense.
Like,
but
when he does the dive.
And then his friend, you son big doo-doo this time, Jar Jar.
You son big doo-doo this time. Yeah, that's one of my my favorite Obi-Wan quotes. He's like, "They banish you because you're clumsy." Dude, there's this video of a guy that does Star Wars impressions that nails Hayden Christensen's Anakin. Like, it blew my mind. Like, if you close your eyes, you're like, that's Hayden Christensen talking. And I tried to mimic it where he's like, sand is coarse and rough, and I can't do it the way he does it, but the way he like manipulates his R's and stuff is so good. One of my least favorite is when Anakin and Padme are talking at the beginning of Revenge of the Sith after the Grievous stuff at the beginning, and Padme says something like, "I am so in love with you," and Anakin's like, "No, I'm so in love with you. It's because you're so beautiful," or something. I'm like, man, that's truly awful.
Yeah, that's really bad.
But that's what's funny is that there's also so much good dialogue in that movie. And what do they say to Grievous when they first meet him? Like, I know they say something like, "You're shorter than I expected," but I feel like there's another funny line. Oh yeah, when Grievous like snatches the lightsabers out of the droid's hand, he's like, "You're welcome."
Dude, the battle droids, even in Clone Wars, are like hilarious.
Oh wait, no, you're under arrest.
General Kenobi.
I'm trying to think if I have any honorary shout outs. Let's try spinning. That's a neat trick.
Yeah, classic.
Notice how all these are from the prequels, by the way.
I just like that me and you sending the quotes and gifts to like perfect occasions.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'll never forget when the announcement for Xbox One initially came out about all the services and like all the restrictions on certain things. I remember like the GIF circling for a while was jumping from 360 to Xbox One, the GIF of Obi-Wan being like, "I loved you." So perfect.
Oh man.
I feel like I quote Star Wars at least a few times a week in applicable situations.
I feel like when I was living near you, we quoted it at least 10 times a day.
Oh, absolutely.
Almost completely prequels.
Yeah.
Prequels are just so quotable.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to think of a few more because it's so much fun to talk about this stuff that really stick out to me. It's hard because in like day-to-day life, I can think about this stuff on the spot, but whenever I'm actually put in a moment like this, it's hard for me to recall them for some reason.
Right. I just it's tough at work because no one really cares. Like, it was a lot easier at Disney because people would get my Star Wars quotes, but nobody gets them where I'm at now.
Right. Dude, I quoted Dooku last night when we were playing Apex. Andy, we had downed a guy and he like fell behind a building and we couldn't see him. And Andy's like, I really want to go see if he's dead. I was like, don't worry, Viceroy, they will die.
Oh, man. I have just such a fond appreciation for well-timed Star Wars quotes.
I like Mace Windu when Dooku says something like, but you're all alone. And Mace Windu's like, I don't think so. And like all the lightsabers start igniting around that arena.
This party's over.
Yeah. What does Anakin say to Obi-Wan when they're all chained up before those monsters come out? It says something funny.
Took you long enough or something?
Like, I can't remember. Yeah, I can't remember. It was something about like, is this what you call a rescue mission or something?
Oh, yeah. It says something like, yeah, Obi-Wan's like, says something to Anakin's like, well, we're here to rescue you. And Obi-Wan looks up and they're all chained. He's like, good job.
I love going back to Palpatine. I love when he's like, when Windu's standing above him and he's like standing, you know, he's like laying down, he's been knocked down, and he goes like, no.
And Jacob's saying when Palpatine's knocked down before Anakin like chops off Mace Windu's hand, he's like, no.
I just love Palpatine.
I've always loved Anakin's like, what if I die? After he kills Mace Windu. I've always
Guess
loved,
I gotta go kill some children now.
And the youngling's like, Master Skywalker, why are we going to zoo?
Lightsaber ignites.
Yeah. Man, that is like the darkest thing ever. And whenever I stop to think about it, I'm like,
pretty brutal.
Dang, man.
You turned her against me.
You've done that yourself. I will do what I must.
I will bring peace to my new empire.
Yeah, it's funny because as much as I love that scene, like the delivery from Hayden Christensen is truly terrible.
Yeah, it's not good.
I mean, granted, it's probably again the testament to the writing, but still.
Yeah, they definitely could have been delivered a little bit better.
You underestimate my power. I will say, I think among all of Hayden Christensen's lines, I think what he delivers the best is when he screams, I hate you at Obi-Wan. Like, that gets me every time because it sounds like he truly hates him. I'm like, that he killed it with that line.
Oh, yep. Yeah, I agree with that. There's a ton of emotion. It's just that final scene by the old lava lake. There's a lot of good emotion in that scene.
Yeah. I mean, there's a million Luke Skywalker quotes I like, too, that I'd have to, like, really dig deep for. But, yeah.
Are there any good Kylo Ren ones?
Oh, yeah, there's a bunch of good Kylo Ren ones.
I'm trying to think of like some from the newer movies.
Yeah, there are a lot of good Kylo Ren.
I'll show you the dark side.
I'm drawing a blank. I know there's good
some
ones.
of the newer movies.
What's the fourth question?
Whatever Rose said to Finn, I just can't even.
Yeah, she says something. Yeah, something stupid like, "We don't win by killing the things we hate, but by saving the things we love."
There you go.
F off. It's called Star Wars. Man.
Dude, Finn would have. Oh man.
I mean, and I love John Boyega, and of course, I'm excited to see more of him. But that would have been so much more epic had he actually sacrificed himself.
Right. It would have just been poetic. Like, he went from being a part, of the First Order, and then, dismantling it by himself, giving his life.
Yeah.
That would have been great. And then that whole thing had to happen. From
being an enemy of the Resistance to sacrificing himself for the rest of the Resistance.
Right.
It would have just been incredible.
Awesome.
But nope.
Speaking of cringeworthy lines, I was like, when I was sitting watching The Last Jedi for the first time in theaters, everything I was just kind of taking as even that Rose to Finn line, I was kind of like, okay, whatever. But what Luke says, what does he say to Kylo in that final fight?
Wait, isn't it? I become more more powerful than you can imagine.
As soon as he said that, I just kind of like looked around in the theater, and I'm like, are we just gonna accept that? There should be riots right now. That's a really, really cheesy line.
Yeah, I'm not into that at all. What's something else good? Yeah, of course, everyone loves. I mean, anything Han Solo says in like the first three movies or the original trilogy is just gold. I've always loved the conversation he has with that Imperial officer or whatever once they invade the Death Star.
Like the intercom.
Yeah, he's like, "We're all great here. How are you?" I always thought that's so funny. Of course, that's great, kid. Don't get cocky. So good.
Yeah, the original trilogy has so many classic lines. In my experience, there's no such thing as luck.
Yeah.
It's a weapon of a more civilized age.
Yeah, you'll never find what does he say? Like a spaceport of more scum and villainy or something.
Yeah, that's right. More scum and villainy than Mos Eisley.
Oh man, dude, I could go on and on and on and on, but we should probably move on to the next part of this question.
Right, that sounds good.
Jacob, you already said what your least favorite was, right?
Yeah. No? I don't know. Let's move on.
Okay. Number 3, Zach. What Star Wars moment makes you smile no matter how many times you see or hear it?
Easy for me. As soon as the double door opened,
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, as soon as, not even once Maul ignites his lightsabers, but that shot of Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan igniting their lightsabers, ready to fight, that moment is forever seared in my mind as, that is hands down my favorite moment in cinema ever.
Oh, nice.
Anybody ask me, my favorite part of a movie, my favorite, anything that has, media-wise, that's it. As soon as it pans to Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon to ignite their lightsabers about to fight Maul, that's perfection in my eyes.
Yeah, that's a moment I'll never forget either, being a kid, seeing that in the theater for the first time, especially when Maul actually ignites his dual lightsaber. I was like, because no one had seen that before. Yeah. It was blew my mind.
It was insane.
Yeah, and that was just that just being 5 going on 6 years old, and just that moment just absolutely just that's what sparked how everything is amounted to a big of a Star Wars fan as I am 20 years later.
Right.
So,
yeah, and on top of Duel of Fates, no less, really amplifying that entire scene.
Hey, if you remember, we all walked out the Duel of Fates at my wedding.
I do remember that. Yeah, that was epic. Funny thing from that fight, obviously it's still, in my opinion, one of the best lightsaber fights ever put on screen, but I've always loved that small moment where they're transitioning into a new part of that room and Darth Maul points at an object and points at the button on the wall and throws it against it. I've always thought that's so cool.
That is incredible. And it's funny when they did the choreography, fight choreography breakdown of that. And there's so many scenes where Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan are just mindlessly waving their lightsabers when they don't have to.
Yeah.
But it's still a great scene nonetheless, especially after Qui-Gon falls and Obi-Wan takes up that mantle, and he doesn't have the high ground, but he gets the high ground.
Yeah. Indeed, he does. Jacob, what do you have to say? What moment makes you smile? I'm still thinking about mine, but what about for you?
My favorite one was probably the one Zach just said, but I have several favorite moments. A lot of people make fun of this scene just because of how goofy it is, but I love when Yoda takes up his lightsaber and fights Dooku, dude, after he defeats Obi-Wan and Anakin, dude. I love that fight so much. When I was a kid, I became obsessed with Yoda because of how cool I thought he looked when he fought Dooku. But I literally I would go home and I would pretend that I was Yoda. I'd make believe that I was Yoda, and I would try to reenact the fight in my mind in the backyard or some shit. But I also love when that moment in The Last Jedi. I know, controversial movie, but when the explosion where the ship goes through the other one at light speed.
Oh yeah, that's a beautiful moment.
It's awesome moment. What else? I love, and other than that, most of my favorite moments are lightsaber fights. For example, The Last Jedi fight with Rey and Kylo fighting together was pretty cool. The first time we see Kylo and Rey fight in the snowy forest at the end of The Force Awakens was really cool. And then the huge fight in Was it Attack of the Clones? Yeah, it was when they were in that Coliseum, where like all the Jedi like landed and there was a huge battle. I always really liked that moment too.
Definitely. Zach, Jacob named a bunch of good ones that I'm not going to reiterate for the sake of the listeners, but notably he mentioned Yoda's fight with Dooku, which I actually remember people laughing out loud in the theater when I saw it.
Yeah. And of course, one more.
I do still enjoy it.
I did not laugh. I loved that.
Yeah.
The in Return of the Jedi, where Luke and Palpatine are going through their discourse with Vader in the throne room. I love that.
Yeah, good stuff.
That whole scene.
Moments that make me smile. I've always loved when Luke meets Yoda in Empire. That always makes me smile. Similar to Zach, that opening scene with Darth Maul and Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan has always really stood out to me.
Every time I think of that, I always think of the Seagull song.
The Seagull song?
Yeah.
Yeah, Stop at Seagulls.
Yeah.
Yeah, that song changed my life. I mean, that song to this day will put a smile on my face in the darkest of moments.
Also, that YouTube creator who put in the old Ben and Darth Vader fight, How I Should Have Been.
Yeah, definitely.
That is like so awesome. So glad somebody took the time to make that.
Mm-hmm. What else we got here? If you were living in the Star Wars universe, what job would you want to have? A job you could apply for, not like Sith Lord, even though that would be awesome.
I think that I would do anything in the Jedi Temple. I would love to just work in like the Jedi library or Jedi archives. I think that's definitely what I would have to go with.
Zach the librarian.
Just anything surrounding like the lore of the Jedi.
I feel you there. What about you, Jacob?
I think I've always really loved the space travel in Star Wars. So anything that has to do with like space, like, ship maintenance or like working on the Death Star or something like that would probably be pretty cool.
For sure. If I had to pick one, I'd probably want to work like some sort of like cargo pilot. I actually think someone may have said the same thing on Discord I'd thought of as well, which is be a cargo pilot where you're having to constantly travel in between different planets. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Part of me wants to say I'd love to work in the either the Mos Eisley cantina or some kind of cantina that's frequently busy with people from all over the galaxy. Because that way you're kind of getting a taste of the Star Wars universe at all times.
You could wipe Jabba's butt.
I'd be into that, man. I mean, someone's got to do it, and you're in Jabba's palace.
Back there.
So
it says that a job you have to apply for.
Ohbulgruf. It's funny. A buddy of mine who I worked with in Florida earlier this summer, and it's one of those rare occasions where you meet someone, you guys click instantly. Like we were talking about certain music and movies, and someone had said something that sounded like a Wadawunga. And I actually said it like that. And then like across the room, he just like looked at me and smiled because he knew exactly what I was talking about.
That's amazing.
And it was hilarious.
Yeah, I hope you guys didn't form a relationship after.
Oh no, dude. I mean, like we went out a couple times just to hang out and catch up, but nothing aside from that.
Yeah, whatever.
Jacob in one ear and Zach in the other. Like, whatever. Only other job would be like a star pilot. Would be cool, or like a fighter pilot for say the Resistance.
Hey, I got one.
Rebel
a
Alliance.
pod racer. I want to be a
pod
racer.
Would be sick. Be so sick.
Star pilot. You could talk about the Space Angels.
Yeah. Are you an angel? I think a pod racer would be cool, especially like a interplanetary pod racer. Like there's a tournament that happens all over different planets. That'd be cool.
Have you ever played Knights of the Old Republic? Because that's pretty much what happens.
That's awesome.
I can't remember what they call it in Knights of the Old Republic. What? Oh, gosh.
You guys ever stop and think about how badly EA has dropped the ball with the Star Wars video game, right?
Yes, all the time.
Like, holy crap, man. Why have they not developed a kick-ass pod racing game where you customize your pod racer and the engines and its look and different tracks and like make it like, not really,
Dude,
like a cross between simulation and arcade would be so much fun.
If they could literally just get together with like Turn 10 Studios, who does Forza, and just make like an insanely realistic but like fun pod racing game, oh my gosh, it would be incredible.
Yeah, and like the visuals they have today. I mean, I don't know if they could pull it off with Frostbite because I know EA is like hell bent on Frostbite, but visually it would look stunning. So I'll be the first to admit. I mean, everyone knows this. Battlefront 1 and 2 look absolutely gorgeous. I mean, that's probably borderline photorealistic graphics, and imagining that in like a really in-depth pod racing game could be so cool.
Oh yeah.
So we'll see how Fallen Order pays off. I'm still excited for that. What else we got here? What job would you most not want to have? I'm probably wiping Jabba's ass now that you mention it.
Wiping Jabba's butt would not be fun. I would say anything like, yeah, I'd say anything in like the lower levels of Coruscant. Actually, I'd say anything working for the Sith, because the attrition rate's got to be terrible. Like, all someone has to do is like lose their temper once, and you're just kind of dead. So,
well, that's the thing though. Like working for the Sith, like in different time periods, like it wasn't that bad because like everyone did it, right? So like after like the Jedi Empire fell, like everyone was a part of the Empire, right? So, I don't know. Like if you worked on the Death Star, maybe that would suck. Because you got a fucking tyrant on board.
Well, tyrant plus you're contributing to a space station that's so massive.
That can blow up planets.
Well, yeah, that. And I feel like, I mean, part of me feels like it would be cool to be like a construction worker on a Death Star.
Sure.
Because, I don't know, just because you'd be in and around the Empire. Because I've always been interested in the dark side and the Empire.
Maybe Darth Vader is the worst job.
Being Darth Vader?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because like he has to do what the Emperor says, because you know he's your master.
Yeah, but
and at some point he doesn't want to do that anymore. You know,
I don't think he always hates what he does, until his own son kind of like gives him a new perspective on what's been happening.
That's true, I guess.
So, worst job, I'm gonna go with wiping Jabba's butt. Probably sounds the least appealing to me in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, or if you have to like someone has to be the janitor for the Sarlacc pit.
Yeah, that would suck. Yeah, good luck, pal.
Somebody has to clean the Sarlacc's teeth.
Yeah, brush the teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah, good luck, buddy. You're the 5th guy this week.
Is being a slave a job?
What'd you say, Jacob?
Is being a slave a job?
I wouldn't call it a job.
Well, that's what people did. Some people.
Yeah, I don't think that counts as a job. That's just a very unfortunate situation to find yourself in.
Yeah.
Let me say this, Zach, before I forget. This just makes me want to go back to Old Republic so badly. Because you and I used to have so much fun playing that together.
Oh, I love that game, dude.
Really hurts my heart that you don't have access to a PC, because I'd play it tonight if you had it.
Oh, I know. I would have never met my wife. Nothing would have ever happened if I would have had a working PC in that game. I never would have left my room.
And that's probably definitely a God thing that, you used to play on your old dad's PC, right? Is that when we played together?
Yeah, it was just like the old Dell we had that, I mean, would run it fine enough. But,
right.
He got a bunch of just random parts and stuff. I meant to ask you next time y'all get out this way, there's a chance that I could salvage a PC together out of some stuff he has.
That would be so cool.
Except I know nothing, so I would definitely need like you or Jalka to give me the assist on that.
Oh, certainly. Preston's a good resource as well. Probably better than both of us. But when that time comes, if you can dig around in what your dad's got, then call at least one of 3 of us, because that'd be sweet if you could join us in anything on PC, especially Star Wars.
Oh, I know. That would be... yeah, I feel like of what I could make, it probably could only run Republic, but yeah, so that'd be nice.
That's good enough for me, my friend.
Me too.
Well, gentlemen, we've reached the conclusion of these questions with the last one. Darth Sister says, if you were in another Star Wars film with George Lucas himself as the director, what would you like him to say after he says cut on your last scene?
Wow. I really like this question. George would grab me by both shoulders and
kiss you on the lips.
Right. Well, after that.
Yeah.
He would hand me a matching flannel, and he would whisper in my ear, I love you so much. You have I'm going with.
I thought he was going to say it's free real estate.
Like Michael Scott, I just started a sentence. I don't know where it's going. But it would be something to the effect of like, you absolutely nailed this part as a super awesome Jedi character that I hand selected you for, because that's my dream. I'll just be honest.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'm sure you'd put a smile on your face for sure.
Or if he would say, this is exactly what I envisioned for an even younger Obi-Wan, because that's also a dream of mine.
Yeah, for sure.
But,
or an even younger Obi-Wan before he met Qui-Gon.
Contractually, it's rough because I've gained on years now since I originally had that dream.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay. I would like George to tell me. I don't know. I'm gonna go to Jacob before I answer. What do you want George to say to you, Jacob?
Oh, I don't know, dude. I don't really have a good one. It'd be something like, he'd pull me aside and he'd give me a big old juicy hug. Maybe
spank you on the bum. You don't have to say anything. He just spanks you, and you did a good job.
Yeah, then he shrugs me aside. He's like, "You did it, you son of a bitch! You freaking did it!" And then he throws a briefcase at me with $1 million in it. Something like that.
That's great, man.
Yeah. Just something like that,
I would like him to say, Garrett, you've nailed this role so well that I'm going to give you the rights to Star Wars. I'm going to strip them away from Disney. I'm going to give them to you. I'm going to give you all of my...
give you my royalties.
Yeah, all my royalties, all my riches. All of it belongs to you now.
Wow.
And then he walks off into the sunset.
That's incredible.
And then the three of us can get together in the community we have here and all build the proper Star Wars movie franchise, TV franchise, video games, what have you, and all call the shots ourselves.
Wow.
All because of the role I killed in George Lucas's Star Wars film.
Yes.
That's a great answer. That's a really good answer.
So
this is
I think
the
it's bound
master
to happen.
plan.
Just give it some time.
Okay. I'm waiting. I'm here for it.
Excellent. Well, Darth Citrus, you can definitely count on us reaching out sometime to talk Star Wars, because I love talking about it. Again, we could do a podcast about Star Wars and talk for 6 hours probably, but considering how many tangents we've gone on and we've spent roughly 30 minutes on this question alone, I think it's probably best we wrap up episode 209. But before Jacob and I do that, Zach, is there anything else you'd like to say before you dip on out?
Thank you for the questions. These are awesome questions. I love Star Wars. I love Obi-Wan Kenobi. I love my boys. Also, on this day that you're recording, it's National Wing Day. So I'm about to go get 2 big things of wings for the price of 1.
Oh!
Wow.
So, yeah. So that's America for you.
You going to Buffalo Wild Wings?
I am, yes.
Nice.
Oh, you lucky bastard.
Yeah, that's how I'll conclude this. And may the Force be with you.
Hey, likewise, my friend. You have a wonderful evening. Thanks for
Enjoy,
joining us.
brother.
Absolutely. Good night, boys.
See ya.
See ya.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Jacob, that is going to be the conclusion of episode 209 of the It's Obvious podcast. Thank you so very much again for your continued support of this podcast. We love each and every week the opportunity we have to do this, even when all three of us can't get together, and for your continued support with the community questions. Again, I just want to reiterate, if you guys do want an Ask IOG, we could do one. We're going to do one. But if you want it to be longer than, say, like half an hour, send us some more questions in either Discord, email, social media. Build it up a bit, and we can have a solid 90-minute, hopefully, Ask IOG episode this week. So I encourage you guys to do that. And again, we had so many more we wanted to get to this week, but our tangents prevented us from doing so. I apologize, but we'll make it up in Ask IOG. We look forward to it. It's been a while. That's it for me, Jacob. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we close out?
No, had a good time tonight chatting with you and Zach there for a little bit. This was a dandy. I enjoyed this episode
fun
a
one,
lot.
man. I really enjoyed it.
A lot of good juicy nugs. Didn't really talk about anything too newsworthy, but
No.
definitely just had a good time, kicking back and just talking about things that we played, what we did, and just, our lives. It's always fun to chat with you, buddy.
Absolutely. And ladies and gentlemen, of course, we encourage you to comment down below on YouTube if you're willing. As always, the conversation can continue on Discord, where we encourage everyone to join in on the fun we have there every single day. So we love you all to bits. Hope you have a wonderful week, and we'll talk to you again soon.
See you guys.